Hello, everyone. We are live after some technical difficulties. Actually, that's like a record all time how fast we've gotten through something. Normally, like it's like 20, 30 minutes of us trying to figure out what's going on. We
Fighting
actually,
with
I think
YouTube.
Clint, your presence here has really sped up the process. It's
Oh
like,
well,
oh,
guess what I did again? Well,
what what'd you do?
okay, sorry. I oh that's right. It doesn't echo back anymore. I
Oh,
had
okay,
I forgot to mute it, so all of a sudden I heard us talking like 3 times.
yeah.
Okay. Anyway, we're live.
Yes, we're live on
Finally.
the YouTube channel. This is just for anybody that wants to watch us live on the podcast. We're going to record a quick interview with Clint here from Funland of Fredericksburg, general manager of Funland of Fredericksburg, and also you still consider yourself co-host of In the Loop, right?
I wouldn't say co-host of In the Loop. I'm the co-host of the Ride with Us podcast, American Coaster Enthusiasts,
All right,
and I am still a contributor to the YouTube channel for In the Loop.
all right.
So you're kind of in the loop.
I am definitely kind of in the loop. I hold the classification of ower, which was because I had a typo, and so instead of owner, I'm the ower.
Uh,
Awesome.
all right, so we're good then. We can start asking questions here in a second. We start. So,
I'm the ower.
oh, all right.
Awesome.
I thought Clint, you just said something, but I was watching the live stream, and that was you talking in past tense. All right. Mm, mm, mm. All right,
Thank,
let's get this set
thank you, Pam, for texting me and reminding me to mute my phone.
up. All right, gonna test, gonna test uh, the audio here in a sec. So
And she says that me and Clint are too quiet or you're too loud, James.
Uh-oh.
Just FYI.
I can turn that up. That's just see, it used to be the other way around, so I'd get too nervous that you guys were too quiet. I think you guys should come through okay, louder now. Can you try talking?
I, I'm
This is
talking now.
Clint Novak talking on a microphone. Check, check.
Yeah, I mean, it should be coming through all right. Shouldn't be an issue there.
As long as it looks good,
I'm looking
we'll
at the audio
see.
levels. It looks fine. So, and you guys are up full volume here. So, all right, I'm gonna test your audio for the podcast. So if you guys both could, I'll just Bob, you go first, then I'll say Clint. All right, so Bob, you go.
All right. This is Bob talking on the microphone, testing my audio like I do every week. It
Uh,
never gets old. Ever. Ever, ever, ever.
all right, now Clint, you can.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Clint Novak chatting on a webcam microphone on my laptop in my man cave, which has all of my coaster stuff in it.
Great, thanks. Yeah, you guys are coming through kind of quiet. It's strange, but I mean, I can post production just amplify your volume, so it doesn't matter too much. But I wonder why that's the case. Let me see if I can change that real quick.
Just don't break anything.
Yeah, it's not nothing
Hey,
to do
what's
with no nothing to do with the YouTube stuff. So, all right, here, let's try that again. Let's try both of you guys. So, Bob, you go first.
Hey, this is Bob again, doing another test that still isn't getting old at all. Never. Does that work?
That's
Or do
fine.
you want me to keep talking?
That's fine. All right, Clint, you try now.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Clint Novak here, talking on the laptop for the Coaster Talk podcast.
All right, great. Yeah, you're still coming through. You guys are still coming through quiet, but I'll fix that in post production. I'll just
I can
amplify.
see if I can turn up my microphone on my end.
Well, then we might get a distortion. I mean, you sound fine for me, so
Let me. I think I can change the input level of you guys coming, my output volume, so you guys are
yeah,
coming
you
through a
need
little
the
louder.
input from Discord into Audacity. I think that's where the because if me and Clint are the lower level, then it's the combined.
Check, check.
Yeah, you sound good. Let's try it one more time. Just one more time just to see, and then regardless, we'll just start. All right, so Bob, you
All
can go.
right. This is hopefully the third and final test of my microphone and audio and all that fun stuff. How's it working, James?
Still quiet, so it's fine. Whatever. We don't even need Clint because it'll probably just come through quiet too. All right, we'll just I'll just edit that in post production. I'll just turn you guys up on Audacity. Strange, really strange, but it is not an issue. I'm gonna see how you guys sound on the live stream too. Just
let me try this real quick. Is my microphone going up in volume at all? Check.
not really.
Check.
No.
Check. No. Okay.
No, I don't think it has anything to do on your side, Clint.
Is my microphone?
You guys sound like you're coming through okay on the live stream.
Check.
Okay.
All right.
So I think you guys are okay for that. And then again, I'll just edit. I can hear you guys pretty good. It's just somewhere in my computer you guys are coming through a little low, but it's all right. I can again just fix that in post. So I'll test my audio real quick though and make sure we're sounding good on my end. After I delete this stuff. Alrighty. I am James Barber, and I am testing the audio for Coaster Talk Podcast, episode number 70. It is April 23rd, 2020. It is 9:18 p.m. Let's see how that sounds. Make sure.
And it's a new moon.
I am James Barber, and I am... All right, it's coming through good. So,
That's a record. That's a record we haven't heard yet.
new moon?
The first launch coaster to open on a new moon. Some park will market that eventually.
Yeah, they're running out of things to use, so... Tallest coaster to open up on a Thursday. All right. All right.
Tallest
So
new coaster to open up on a Thursday.
all right, so Clint, we're gonna come in. This is after a break. We take a break halfway through the show, so this is just gonna be a little. We're coming back. You know, I'm just gonna say that, and then we're here with Clint Novak, general manager of Funland of Fredericksburg, also co-host of the Ace Ride with Us podcast, and contributor of In the Loop. And then I'll just ask the first question, and then me and Bob will probably just alternate in terms of questions. He'll ask one, I'll ask one, he'll ask one, I'll ask one.
Okay.
And yeah, just feel free to, whatever you want to say, just continue. There's no time limit for this or anything like that. So if you want to go on
What's the
10-minute
longest
spiel.
podcast you guys have ever done?
I think we hit 2 hours.
Yeah, I think we've hit 2 hours.
Quite late.
All
yeah.
right.
That's
So
not.
it's, 9. All right. Let's see if we can make it.
Let's see if we break that record. All right, so I'll start it up. Let me 1 second here. Stereo track. All right, here we go. And we're back, and along with us this week for a quick little interview. Oh, not quick, because I just said it's not going to be quick. It could be long. So
But it's going to be a little interview. I see how it is. Okay.
All right, let me. No pressure there, Clint. I just said take how much of the time you want, but it's quick. It's a quick interview, but. All right, let me redo that. Oh, good. I had you guys coming in a stereo mono track anyway, so I'm kind of glad. I like stereo audio better. That's what I use. So that's good. All right, and now we can go. All right, here we go. And we're back, and along with us for an interview this week is Clint Novak, who is general manager of Funland of Fredericksburg, also the co-host of the Ace Ride With Us podcast, and a contributor to the In the Loop podcast. Clint, thank you so much for coming on this week.
That's a lot of titles for
a lot
one
of credentials.
We just mildly popular guy, Clint Novak. That's what we could say, right?
Yeah, we see you in the parks and everyone goes crazy, kind of thing.
I'm sure we could add some other things on there too.
They used to go crazy. Now I walk the Midway. Nobody knows who I am, and then I'm hanging out with Taylor, and then people are running up to him, going, "Oh my God, it's Coaster Studios!" It's like,
no.
Oh my God, what happened?
Clint
Novak used to be a household name.
We know that propeller. We know that propeller.
We know it. We see it. We know it. We love it.
Now, actually, you've been on Discovery Channel specials. I don't think Taylor has he?
I don't even know if I've been on Discovery Channel.
Well,
I've been
maybe not
on
Travel Channel. Travel
Channel. I've been on the Great American Country Channel. That was probably the biggest. I shouldn't say the biggest show I've been on. The most airtime I received was on the Great American Country Channel or something like. I don't even remember what channel it is, but they did a feature of roller coasters with one of the property brothers, but not the property brothers that are famous. It was JB, and me and Sherry were in Dollywood pretending to be super fans of Dollywood.
So, funny thing about that episode, I was at my parents'. My niece and nephew were over, all watching it, and my nephew was like 4, maybe 5 at the time, and I saw Erin on. She was being interviewed, and I said, "Oh, hey, that's Erin." And like my nephew was like, "Oh, you know her?" Like, he thought it was so cool, and he's like all of a sudden it's like he's now expecting me to know everybody that comes on there, right? I'm like, no, like that's the only person I'm gonna know. Like this isn't like a common thing. And the next coaster comes up, and my nephew turns to me and says, "Do you know him?" And I go, "No." "Yeah, that's Clint." Totally disproved my point.
Because he wasn't wearing the beanie in that episode.
Yeah, exactly.
I had to take some time to realize it.
It's funny because if when I'm at King's Dominion, a lot of people will know me. Like if I'm walking around, people will know me. If I go to other parks, I might get 1 or 2 people who'll be like, "Hey, you're Clint Novak. We watch your videos. That's awesome." If I go to Cedar Point, it's like there I'm the most famous. Like people at Cedar Point, I guess Ohio, they got coasters running in their blood.
Yeah.
Because at Cedar Point, I will run into like 20 people that know me there.
That's great. I love it. That's awesome.
I wonder if it's an East Coast thing. What about like Dorney? Up there.
Like I said, 1 or 2 people per park. If I go to a Disney park or like a big worldwide park, Universal, whatever, I won't get noticed at all at those parks. But the regional parks, usually at least 1 or 2 people. Yep.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty great. All right, so let's get into the actual interview. What were you saying?
I said that's more than recognize me.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. All right, so let's get in the actual interview here now. And so the first question we have for you, Clint, is you just announced Funland of Fairfax is coming soon, 2020. And so how did that come about?
Well, in December of 2019, somebody called our phone number, just our regular phone number. Our one of the girls in 105 picked it up, and they said, "We have a park that's for sale, and we want to talk to somebody about it." And the screening process to get to me is pretty. You can't just call up and say, "I want to talk to Clint Novak," and then here he is. Because usually there's like a lot of telemarketers and stuff that are trying to sell me something, and so they knew, this can't be real. So they gave it to somebody else, one of the other managers, and that manager came back to me and said, "There's a park that's for sale in Fairfax. You might want to take a look at it." And I was like, "This isn't real," and we didn't know what was in it because there was no pictures from inside of it at the time. So we didn't know what was in it. I talked to the people. They were the property managers of the place. They didn't know what was in it. They just knew that they have locked the doors so the tenant couldn't get in anymore because I guess there's money issues. They've left. They're no longer part of the project. And so I said, well, when do you guys have control of it? When can I come look at it? And they said, well, we'll have control of it, let's say Monday. And so I came up Monday, and the place was done. It was like this was an FEC that you'd turn the lights on and turn the games on, and you could be running it that day.
Hmm.
And so I talked to the owner, and I said, you gotta come down. He was in New Jersey. Well, actually, he was in Europe at the time. I got back from Europe, came down the next day, looked at it, and he said, "We got to move on this." And obviously the holidays, New Year's, all that stuff got dragged out a little bit. But by the end of January, we knew that we were really we're in a really good position to purchase again. Used to be called Balaxy or Balaxy. Um, and they had 4 locations in the U.S. 3 of them were open. This one never opened,
Hmm.
and now we have control of it, and we own it, and we can't open it because coronavirus. So now it's sitting empty with the general manager up there every day. He reports to work, and he sits in there by himself, and he does projects there, and we can't even hire people and stuff
Oh
because of
man.
the COVID issues and stuff. So we have a place that's sitting there ready to open when we can. So
So it is ready to open at this
yeah,
time.
there's still some permitting stuff that is going on right now if COVID just tomorrow they said
Hmm.
open up Virginia, it wouldn't be able to open up right away because there's still some permitting stuff that we're going through,
Hmm.
and so we'd have to complete that before we could actually open it up. But there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to go into it as well. We have to hire staff, we have to train staff. It has more complicated attractions in it than Funland of Fredericksburg has.
Wow.
So the ropes course, we have to have RCI come back down and do some training with the ropes course. It's going to have a full size bar and actual food menu. Um, so that's something different that Funland doesn't have. We have a
That's
snack
awesome.
bar and no alcohol, so it's a whole new realm for us. And the
Wow.
GM up there, Jamie, he is a restaurant guy, so
Hmm.
he never worked in an FEC like this, but he is a restaurant guy. So really, he's going to bring the food aspect of Funland, both locations, up. First of all, Fairfax, and then hopefully at some point, Funland of Fredericksburg will follow.
That's really awesome.
That is great.
I'm kind of curious though. With the first thing I went for is obviously I live in the area, so I knew the site, and I've been near it, but I never actually looked at the satellite view. So the first thing I wanted to do is go and look at wait, what properties around it,
Hmm.
what might they do, and I'm
Like
curious if
where are they going to
they're
put the GCI coaster?
right,
Where are they?
exactly, gravity group, right?
Yeah,
uh,
exactly. Yep. Yeah.
But my question is there any possibility that you might do an outdoor rides area at this area, or is that not going to have? Is that officially not an
That is
option?
not going to happen at Funland of Fairfax. So, Funland of Fairfax is part of a strip mall. So, Funland of Fredericksburg, we own the land, we own the building, we own everything about it. So, Funland of Fairfax is different. We have to rent the building from
Mm.
a property management company, and so we don't actually own anything outside of the building, and we don't own the building itself. So we have to
Uh,
rent that. We can't expand. The biggest issue with expanding is parking spaces. Believe it or not, that's
Yeah,
the issue.
yeah.
Funland of Fredericksburg, it's going to be very difficult for us to grow it any bigger because if you've been there on a Saturday, you have nowhere to park. You have to park across the street, and that's not our property. So it's like people are upset that
Yeah.
people are parking in places they're not supposed to. And in Fairfax, we have 30 spots less than we have in Fredericksburg.
oh
Man.
wow.
So it's part of a strip mall. So we have 170 spaces that are directly in front or to the side of our building. Um, but we're predicting that store is going to do more than the store that we have in Fredericksburg, even though it has an outside component. And so it's
That's
going to be difficult. We're
yeah.
going to have to see how it plays out. It's going to have a lot fewer. It's going to have fewer attractions in Fairfax and Fredericksburg because we're not going to have that outside component. But we're hoping that they're going to kind of feed off of each other. If you go to Fairfax, maybe you're going to want to go to Fredericksburg and vice versa. And hopefully, somewhere down the line, we'll be able to kind of connect the two. So if you have a play card at one, it'll work at both. And same with
Yeah.
the season pass. But when we open, that will not be the case. They're two separate entities.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, family entertainment centers or family entertainment centers. I mean, there's stuff to do. Whether you have the outside rides area or not, it's still a lot of fun. I think ropes courses even. That would be the one thing that. Oh, that's the Fairfax thing. That's the
Hmm.
exciting
Yeah.
thing about Fairfax.
And we're working on we've got okay, so we've got the ropes course. The ropes course is a really big ropes course in the sense that it's only one level, so it's not that high, but it has a lot of elements on the one level, which typically like if you went to an Andretti's, we probably have twice the ropes course they have. So
Mm,
it's a really really big ropes course.
that's
But we also have
fantastic.
we have clip and climb in Fredericksburg, but we have almost double the amount of clip and climb in Fairfax. So it's a bigger clip and climb area. Indoor go karts, which will go up to 20 miles an hour, and then on special occasions, we'll be able to crank them up and do like 30, 35 miles an hour with helmets and stuff.
Wow.
But that won't be like a Saturday thing. That'll be like a you buy out the park kind of thing, and you'll get to do fast paced go karts. Um,
Ace
we're also
events.
looking at adding, 8 lanes of mini bowling and the XD Theater dark ride. So those are things that we want to bring in because right now there's only 4 attractions in the arcade. We want to at least up it to 6 because we're known for attractions and arcade. So we want to have both.
That's great. So sounds like you guys have a lot on your hands right now, and it's awesome. Can't wait for Fairfax. We definitely have to make a trip up there when this all settles down and we're able to do so. So this is more of a fun question for General Manager Clint. This is still General Manager. We do have some more fun personal questions later, but this is for General Manager Clint. What is your favorite attraction at your Funland locations?
Okay, so I would say Fredericksburg. I would have to say the go kart track is really the Thunder Speedway is amazing.
Hmm.
Um, but I also really like playing laser tag. So it's like
Yeah.
I used to play. I don't play laser tag as often as I used to, but we used to play every Wednesday night. We had like special ops laser tag, and I would run it, but I really was playing it and refereeing at the same time. So I really like that. But yeah, I would say probably right now it's the Thunder Raceway, Thunder Speedway. So
Yeah, I have to
at the
say.
other
So
location, the go karts are definitely the best
Mhm.
attraction. So, although I did do the ropes course the last time I was up there, and I was too scared to do the zip line, even though it's only like 15 feet off the ground. I finally did do the zip line, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, the ropes course. It takes, I'm a bigger guy. I'm older, so it
Hmm.
takes a lot more skill, and some of my abilities to really make that happen. So,
I love it. All right. Yeah, I
so
actually,
so with the
if
oh,
if you don't
go
remember,
ahead, James.
I don't know if you remember this, but I have to say one of my favorite attractions, kind of a hidden gem at your Fredericksburg location, is actually that frog hopper. I really thoroughly
Oh
enjoy
my
that.
gosh, that frog hopper. I love that
I
thing.
love it. I love it.
You look at it and you say kiddie ride, but man, it's a lot of. You need more adult seats on it. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah. That's the
problem.
only. Yeah, you
yeah,
just.
well, it's made for 600 pounds, and
We,
so
we, we
really
are
it's one
aware of
adult.
this.
It's one adult and 6 kids is really what they want on there. But if you put 3 adults on there, that thing bounces. Like the
Oh,
more weight you put on it, the more out of control it is. And really, you max it out at that 600 pounds, and it's bouncing like crazy.
that'll be something we test next time we're there.
We did learn that there is a point where it won't go.
Yeah, yeah. There was.
There is. I guess it's a safety. I don't know.
Yep, yep.
All I remember is the employee said, "Nope, one of you has to get off."
I will say the ride that can get out of control the fastest is the fun slide. You don't think about it like that, but if it's
Hmm.
freshly waxed, you
Oh
Oh,
could
yeah.
fly off
oh
that thing. I
boy.
mean, it is just incredible how fast you can go if it's freshly waxed. We have to watch it. Like when we wax it, we have to wax just a little part of it at a time because if we over wax it, people are flying into the fence. Like it's crazy.
I love it. I love it.
So you had mentioned the go karts. I was curious if if they've met your expectations with guest satisfaction and profitability and all of that. Is it a decision that you definitely are glad you did?
I would say yes.
Okay.
Okay. It exceeded our expectations and goals, which were pretty lofty to begin with. And we're just hoping that again, it's hard to measure because we're really not done with what we're expecting out of it.
Hmm.
And now that we've had to shut down and we're now losing part of our summer, it's hard to see
Yeah.
and gauge if it's still as popular as we're hoping it is. And so we really, going into the summer, is when we were going to be able to see those numbers again and see what was going on. And now that we're closed, we see the zero number, and
Yeah.
that hurts. So
Mm.
so right now it's hard to tell, but so far it has been very successful. We're happy that we've had a lot of other FECs come and look at it. This is something that a lot of FECs don't typically do outside of like tourist attraction areas. So if you go to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, where we went to research a multi-level go-kart tracks, they have 35 go-kart tracks within a 5-mile stretch. So it was a no-brainer to go there and look at
Yeah.
go-kart tracks. Other than beaches, there's really not a place that does multi-level. So we went multi-level, and we've had several FECs come out and visit us, and now we know 2 FECs that I can't say, but we
Mm.
know 2 places that are currently in the works of building a multi-level go-kart track. So
That's fantastic. That's
exciting.
awesome. That's
So you
awesome.
started the trend.
Yeah.
Again, I can't take credit for it because they
Well,
existed
yeah.
before I did, but yeah, it was definitely one of
In the
those things where-
standalone, standalone FEC.
Exactly, and
sector.
it was crazy how much press it received right out of the gate. We did like a media event. We call them VIP events because we
Yeah.
don't have a lot of Fredericksburg media. And when we did the VIP event, no TV stations came. Our local radio stations, newspaper came. I believe Coaster Talk Podcast was
Coaster
there,
Talk
right?
Podcast made an
Indeed
appearance.
we
Yes.
Dang straight. And so we had our little VIP night, and I was like, I guess it wasn't going to be as big of a hit as I thought it was going to be. And then the week after it opened, a TV station from Richmond came up and did a piece, and then that went crazy. They said it was one of the biggest news stories they've done on their Facebook page.
Wow.
And the Freelance Star had their number one story of 2019 was our go-kart track on their
That is
Facebook.
awesome.
So it was the most popular thing that they put on Facebook was our go-kart track.
That's fantastic.
We ended up getting 6 different TV stations, 3 from DC, 3 from Richmond. Elliot in the morning talked about it for 20 minutes on his show, which is huge.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of press via print media and online stuff. So it ended up exploding, and we had a phenomenal summer. I mean, one of those summers where you kind of doubled everything you've done in the past. So it was crazy.
That's tremendous. That's awesome. So glad
It
to hear
definitely
that.
is a lot of fun. James and I had a lot of fun on it.
Other than the fact that Bob wrecked into me and
Bob is
no.
banned. Bob is not allowed to come to Funland of Fredericksburg.
yeah. How do you like them apples, Bob?
Shouldn't cut in front of me.
No. They're a lot of fun though. Definitely, any listener out there that is thinking about heading to Funland of Fredericksburg, those were a blast. I really enjoyed those. I've never had that much fun on go-karts. I've done go-karts around here in Richmond, and they're fine, but those were really exhilarating and really exciting and a lot of fun. So I'm really glad.
Where in Richmond do you do go-karts?
There's a mini golf place in Chesterfield, Virginia, and
Waiters?
I'm the blanking on the name there, but I go there and I play some mini golf and I hop on the go karts, and they're fine, they're okay, but there was nothing quite like the Thunder Speedway. That was fantastic.
Yeah, it's funny. It's 30 feet tall, and people are like, "Oh, I'm scared of heights. I don't want to go on it." You don't realize that you're even up in the air when you're on it because you're looking forward.
Yeah.
You're not looking
Right.
side to side to realize. So it's really fun to walk up there, like when before we open or like times like right now where we're closed. Just to walk up to the top of the go-kart track and look out because it is the tallest attraction at Funland. So to be able to walk up to the top of it and just hang out up there, it's pretty cool. But over the last couple of days, we've actually been testing go-karts because you can't let the engine sit too long without being
Right.
revved up. And so we've been turning them on periodically, going out and just doing 3 or 4 laps with them and then parking them.
That's great. I love it. So, talking about COVID-19, it's a pretty big thing, obviously, right now. It's shut down many non-essential businesses, theme parks, beauty salons, all that kind of stuff. All those places are closed. How is COVID? We talked about how it affects, obviously, you being able to track the guest satisfaction and profitability of your new attraction, Thunder Speedway, and other rides. But how in other ways is it affecting Funland?
Well, it hit us really fast.
Yeah.
The week, the week of the 13th, Friday the 13th was the last Friday we were open, and up to that point, we hadn't felt any drop in guests, but we knew stuff was happening. At that point,
Yeah.
they were talking about the NBA being canceled for the year,
Yeah.
March Madness closing down. It was crazy how quickly things stopped, and we went from that Wednesday posting notices about washing hands and putting extra hand sanitizing stations out to that Sunday closing down. And when
Crazy.
when we made the decision, the governor, came and said we're asking all non-essential businesses to close, and we said, okay, we got to close up. And so we closed at 4 o'clock on Sunday, and that was the 14th, 15th, 13th, 14th, 15th.
Hmm.
And we've been closed ever since. And so the next day we had to lay off or furlough 90 between 80 and 90 staff members, and that is not easy at all. We have 6 full-time people at the park right now working. That means there's managers, leadership, staff members who've been at the park for many years that we had to immediately stop scheduling because we can't continue to pay people if the park's not open, because we need that cash flow coming in.
Right.
Hmm.
And so those are the really hard things that we had to do right up front. And we tried to keep guest interaction on Facebook going. And then when the governors did the stay-at-home order, we're not really essential, so we decided we are just going to stop all of that as well. So we're still doing some Facebook stuff, but it's not showing us at the park or doing anything at the park because we just want people to know that we're abiding and stuff. So
Hmm.
those are really the things that are the hardest for us, because we really appreciate and really rely on our team members, and not having them there is one thing. It sucks not having them there and being part of the team, but the fact that they're now at home, and unemployment and all that stuff is kicking in, and so that's the sad realization of where we're at right now. And we're just patiently waiting, doing our duty of not spreading the virus, and hopefully we'll see some kind of normalcy in the future. So we don't know when that's going to be. We don't know how we're going to do it. We're looking at Japan and what they're doing with Disney. And the crazy thing is, taking the general manager hat off and talking as a coaster enthusiast, it's going to be very difficult for bigger parks to open. For us,
Yeah.
we can do things at Funland that bigger parks can't do.
Right.
We can open up our go-kart track and do reservations only. King's Dominion can't do that. So
Right.
it's like we can do reservation only for go-karts, and nobody has to even come in the building. We don't have to collect money from them. They can do it all online.
Hmm.
And all we do is they park outside. We bring them in the side gate, and we bring them to the go-kart track at their scheduled time, and they get to play. But how are they going to control the line for Steel Vengeance if you're not allowed to be within 6 feet of another person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you going to
That's
ride
a
the ride?
that's been a
Are
big
you going to
debate.
allow every seat to be filled, or do you have to
Stacked.
separate the rows by 6 feet?
Yeah. Staggered seating.
So can you imagine, first of all, how long the line would be for Steel Vengeance?
Insane.
And then if they could only do the trains at, let's say, 1/3 the capacity that they would normally do, you're never gonna ride it. They're not gonna be able to open like that.
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
they're gonna have to do something that Cedar Point has never done, especially with gold passes now. Oh, gold
Yeah.
passes is they would have to limit the amount of people that come in their park. And to my knowledge, I don't think they've ever closed down due to capacity at their park. And
No,
I've
they
been there
did.
on some
They did at
crazy.
Haunt this year. One time, right after the gold passes went on sale, They actually closed the
I feel like that
entrances.
wasn't I feel like that wasn't them saying people couldn't come in the park. I have a feeling that was more like we don't have anywhere else to park people. People
Well,
are parking
okay.
10
I
miles
guess.
away and walking.
Well, okay. So I guess technically they didn't close the gates, but they closed the causeway and Cedar Point Road. So
Yeah,
I guess you might have the technicality there,
yeah.
but
So
yeah.
it's one of those things where it's going to be there's going to be difficult decisions that are going to be made because we're not going to be able to operate as normal.
Yeah.
Disney,
Right.
rumored won't open in 2021. It sounds like they might be pushing off till 2022 to reopen, which is good in some spaces because rumor has it they might actually be fixing the Yeti.
Finally.
Don't know. I've heard rumors. I mean, now's the time to do it if you're going to do it, right? So,
Exactly.
but so it's going to be interesting to see what the big parks do. It's going to be interesting to see what the regional parks are going to be able to do. Um, can a water park open? I mean, is the virus transferred through water? Does chlorine kill it? We don't know. So
Yeah.
it's hard to gauge what's going to be able to be open and what's not.
Yeah. The
And
future is so
we're just hoping,
unpredictable.
we're putting policies and stuff into place right now while we're closed uh, to see what kind of level we'll be able to open at. So they're saying Georgia may be opening bowling alleys uh, tomorrow, and I think we could run a safer business,
Oh
safer
yeah.
in Funland, keeping people, not touching the bowling balls and using rental shoes. We wouldn't do any of that. So if we opened our batting cages, we would not put out bats and helmets. You'd have to bring your own.
Yeah.
So laser tag and clip and climb might not open with the park. We may have to wait because sanitary reasons.
Yeah.
Sanitizing the vests and all that stuff in between games. We may not have the capability of doing that because, excuse me, everybody's going to need these products, and so right now the hospitals are using the products, essential businesses are using the products. When everybody opens up, everybody needs those products, and so there's going to be, we'll continue to see the shortage as
Hmm.
we continue to open.
Yeah, that's always been we were talking earlier. I'm an essential employee, and I have to go through like biometric scanning. So like everybody going into the building is touching these biometric readers, and I can't find hand sanitizer. I've actually started making my own because so it's and that's always been a thought of mine. Like all these places are saying, yeah, when we open, we're gonna have all this hand sanitizer, and I'm back in my mind. I'm like thinking, where's it coming from?
Yeah.
Because
Who's your dealer?
One of the things that we're working on right now is arcade games. Everybody touches the arcade games,
right.
and
Hmm.
it's never been an issue before. But now we're looking at, okay, self cleaning stations
Yeah.
around the park, kind of like when you're at a gym and you
Hmm.
want to wipe down the equipment. You'll be able to go and you'll pull one of the handy wipe things that you can go and wipe down the game before you play it. So
Yeah.
we're looking at a whole bunch of different things that again, we have no clue what the restrictions are going to be, so it's hard to predict.
Yeah, certainly. So you talked a little bit about having obviously there are some essential things that you have to do like go in and run the go-karts because obviously from a technical standpoint that has to be done,
Hmm.
and obviously
Yeah.
that would fall under essential. So there's essential reasons to go there. I'm kind of curious, when you do go there for an essential reason, do you find yourself maybe sneaking over to the roller coaster and just taking a spin on it, or
Uh, th- well, it's essential that we ride the roller coaster at least 3 times a day to make sure that it's still. No, I'm kidding. Right now, what we're doing is we're doing a lot of just busy work. There's a lot of gymnasium lights that were up in the ceiling that we had stopped using years ago, but because we didn't have the time to go up and collect them and bring them down, they just sat up there turned off. And so we went through and we've taken all of those down. We've waxed the floors. Um, we've been cleaning the cafe, like deep cleaning, like taking equipment out. We had to get rid of a whole bunch of food, so we had to find a food place to donate mozzarella because we had so much mozzarella cheese because
Hmm.
we stocked up for a weekend where we thought we were going to be busy, And
Yeah.
then that weekend came and nobody showed up, and now we got mozzarella cheese that we had to get rid of. So we had to donate that.
Yeah.
Um, there's just been a lot of different stuff that we've been working on trying to keep ourselves busy. But like you said, some of the things, I mean, the roller coaster right now, we couldn't operate if we wanted to because we have weekly and monthly tests that have to happen. So we'd actually have to go in and do those tests, which we haven't been doing since we've been closed
Uh,
down.
Yeah.
So I did mention it the other day. I was like, it'd be great to take a spin on Twist and Shout. And he's like, I really don't want to do the monthly in order to run it, but we do have to cycle it occasionally just so the wheels don't sit too long. Otherwise,
yeah.
they'll get a flat spot on the wheel. Um, we've been fixing bumper cars. We've been fixing mini bowling because there's been issues with mini bowling. That's like we patch it with a band aid kind of thing and say, okay, it should be good for a while. So we've been going in, ripping stuff out, and overhauling it so it's almost like brand new.
So this is a little bit of a good time for maintenance in terms of park maintenance. It seems maybe there's some value in this. Obviously, it's not ideal. Obviously, you'd rather be open operating, but this is somewhat of a good time to really fix those, like you said, things that you haven't really had the time to, or the capability of. While the park is
Yeah,
open all the time.
it's well, normally what we do with our maintenance program is not like King's Dominion where they get to close down and then run maintenance on their rides.
Hmm.
We're open year round, and if
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
nice
Right.
enough, our outside opens, and so our rides go down individually. So kind of like Disney. Um, Starting in January, we take Scrambler down, and Scrambler gets worked on, and then once we're done with that, Tilt Whirl goes down, and we do maintenance on all of the rides that way.
Hmm.
Um, and so we've been doing that kind of stuff. We're putting some parts on the Tilt a Whirl. We actually are talking about totally disassembling the Scrambler and sending it out and having it sandblasted so we can paint it.
Ooh.
We've been trying to paint it for like a year. We never have time, so it's always been like a half-phase stage of being painted, which is terrible because I mean, you would think, oh, that'll only take a day. No, it takes like 3 weeks to paint the stupid thing. And so we're talking with some friends of ours from another park, and they are talking about possibly we'll disassemble it, bring it over to them. They'll sandblast it, paint it for us, then we can bring it back to the park and put it back together. So just things like that. That's what we're working on. And we have to do things like mow the lawn. So
Hmm.
it's like it takes two of us, uh, a basically about 10 to 12 hours total for the two of us. So that's what 24 hours, whatever
Hmm.
total. But it takes two of us to 12 hours to mow the lawn. So it takes us basically 2 days to mow the lawn.
Wow, that's crazy. All right, so
Yeah.
we're gonna transition now a little bit out of the Funland in Fredericksburg, Clint Novak, to the coaster enthusiast Clint Novak, and this is even more on a personal level. This isn't really coaches. We are gonna get into some coaster oriented questions, but what are you in particular personally doing right now while you're at home with your stay at home orders? And are you finding yourself paying attention to the industry more or less as a result of these activities you're participating in?
Okay. So I'm still working 45 hours a week.
Okay.
So that is significantly down from what I normally work in a week.
Yeah.
I know the normal work week is 40, but if you guys know me, I'm like a workaholic, and so I'm either at Funland of Fairfax or Fredericksburg, or I'm at King's Dominion.
Yeah.
So if King's Dominion's open, I'm back and forth. I just come to my house to sleep is what I do. Um, but recently, it's like, well, there's not that much work that I need to work more than 45 hours. So this is actually kind of a break for me, even though I'm still working 45 hours. So I recently got into Modern Warfare, back into that. I used to be a
Hmm.
big In the Loop podcast used to be live on Monday nights at 8 o'clock on Blog Talk Radio. Yeah, I know, way before your time. And we would do a live show for an hour and a half, and then we would have Halo matches afterwards. So at 10 o'clock, we're getting all the coaster fans together and doing like big Halo 2 matches. And so I used to be big into the first person shooter game, so I've been getting into that. Um, Definitely paying attention to the industry. I have a conference call tomorrow morning with 12 different FECs that I'm in charge of. And basically, our topic of conversation is how do we reopen? And so we're going to be going over, you know, thoughts and ideas between all the 12 FECs, and they're everywhere from Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Virginia, Maryland, Georgia, North Carolina. So we got FECs all over this area
Mm-hmm.
that we share information to help each other, which is great about this industry, because this industry really is all about sharing information, and
Yeah.
you don't see that in other industries. So we'll be talking all together as a group tomorrow to figure out how are we gonna do this? How are we going to reopen? How are we going to do it safely? And it's really cool because over the last couple of years, I've seen my role change a lot from generally from coaster enthusiast Clint, person to general manager,
Mm-hmm.
and in an industry professional. I've been working a lot more with IAPA and doing different things with them on a industry professional basis, and it's just really exciting that as a coaster enthusiast, I would do all of this stuff for fun, and now I get to do it and get paid for it. So
I love it.
So that coaster enthusiast part of you, uh, whenever all this pandemic stuff is over, what what do you plan to ride first? If you could pick any ride accessible to you, where are you going? What are you riding first? What's most important to get on? Not outside of Funland.
it really isn't even about the rides; it's about the people. Uh,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really, it's not like I want to. If you said, okay, Clint, since you're so coaster deprived, we're going to open up King's Dominion for you. You can ride any coaster you want by yourself. That would not be what it's about for me. It's the people that it's about. And so
Okay.
when I go to King's Dominion, huh?
Are you saying that if you had a chance to ride I-305 right, you would turn it down?
No,
Is
I
that
didn't
what
say I would turn it down.
Okay.
I
Okay.
just
Check.
said that's not what it's about. I didn't say I would
No.
turn it down. Okay?
I do
No,
agree with
no.
you. I do agree.
No, when I go to King's Dominion, and my wife will tell you, I say my wife is really good about it because me and her, we can walk around King's Dominion and not ride anything. It's sometimes when we go with certain friends, they get upset because we're not riding everything all the time. It's like we go there and we start walking around and we run into people and we start talking to the people, the managers there or friends that we know there, and we really don't have a plan, or we're just kind of going with the flow. And so it's always, the plan is really loose. Oh, we met up with you guys. Oh, well, let's go do Twisted Timbers real quick, or where are you guys going? Well, this is where we're going. We'll follow you. It's kind of that kind of thing. And really, that's what I really enjoy about going to the parks is the people hanging out with the people. And that's what
Yeah.
I miss the most.
Almost like creating a little,
is that contact.
creating a little
I
adventure.
have an amusement park and the keys to that park, and you have no clue how hard it has been to not be like, hey guys, do you guys want to come up and we'll ride some rides for a little bit? It's like I can't
Yeah.
do that. So
Yeah.
it's we're doing our part, and hopefully we're flattening the curve, and if that's the case, we'll get the parks open, and really it's just about hanging out with the people and hitting some rides. That being said, Twisted Timbers, Dominator, I miss Dominator. Volcano, I missed the most. And since this whole thing happened, we were unable to put it on our roof at Funland,
Oh,
so
man.
we pushed that off. So hopefully 2021, it'll be built on the roof there. So
Yeah.
I
something to look
I
forward
have
to.
to say I do agree with you. I remember when I first bought my first season pass, it was like the whole park experience changed because it wasn't that like, oh, like I'm here, I have to get all these rides in. You start enjoying more, talking more, and like not having an agenda, and the park becomes something very, very different. And I definitely miss it. There have been times I've gone to King's Dominion, I spent 6 hours and rode 2 rides, and I was more than happy.
yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've been to Kings. I live 15 minutes from King's Dominion, so I
Same.
go all the time, and I just go eat a meal, walk around, talk to some people, and leave, and not even ride anything. So
That's
I know
happened. Yeah,
that's crazy, but yeah.
I'm 20 minutes
Yeah, but I
down the
live
road, and
15
sometimes
minutes
I'll do
back.
the exact same thing, and I'll drive up there, and again, yeah, 6 hours might ride one or two attractions, but I'm hanging out with my friends and eating some food and watching a show, or whatever we want to do. And that really is what it's about. That's what being a theme park enthusiast is really about. Getting into this community and just finding great friends and having great adventures with them. It's really awesome.
So another attraction question outside of the community, which is awesome. What is your most anticipated brand new 2020 attraction if it opens in 2020?
Well, I'll tell you
2020.
One thing I'm gonna do in 2020. I'm going to tell you one thing I'm going to do in 2020. I'm going to go to Indiana Beach. That's for dang sure.
Yes,
I got to get up there and get those credits. I didn't expect that to happen. So I was like, oh, damn. I'm glad that I got a chance to go to Fantasy Island this past year. But we didn't get the kiddie coaster credit because it was closed and we only had 2 hours there. So it ended up opening like a half hour after we left, but we never got back on it. So that's a bummer.
Yeah.
But let's see here. I would have to say the splash area at King's Dominion. Really looking forward. No, I'm kidding. Okay. This is kind of cheating, but I think Rise of the Resistance is my 2020 must do. Really want to get down there and do that. IAPA, I'm sure, is going to do their party at Hollywood Studios this year if IAPA happens this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they announced very shortly that that is not happening next year or this upcoming year, because that's what a lot of people are doing right now.
Yeah.
I hope they hold out and wait and see what happens, but we'll see. But yeah, I really would like to get down there and do that. Kings Island. It's been so long since I've been to Kings Island. I've got so many roller coaster credits I need to get there. I haven't been on Banshee, Mystic Timbers. Of course, the new coaster there. So there's a lot of stuff I got to do. So
those are some great choices. All right, so this is another. We're in the fun question zone now again. So if you could spend a day every week at a specific amusement park, what would it be?
Like every day at one amusement park?
Yes.
Every week. Yeah, one day every week through the whole season.
So, like Mondays, I would get to hang out at that amusement park?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I would say my favorite amusement park is Cedar Point. I mean, by far, hands down. I wish I lived closer to it. I like how I'm centrally located right now with amusement parks. But I really, really like Cedar Point. That being said, if I could pick anywhere to live, it would be Florida, and I'd be doing the Disney parks and stuff all the time. So, it would just be further away from Cedar Point. But Cedar Point holds a special place in my heart. It really was where I became a coaster enthusiast. I grew up in Minnesota, going to Valley Fair, the Mall of America. I worked at Valley Fair for a season. That's how I found out about Cedar Point. At that point, I just thought, every city had a Valley Fair. You don't pay attention to things like that when you're, 18 years old in Minnesota. And then I found out, Valley Fair has a sister park called Cedar Point. They're building the tallest coaster in the world, which was Millennium Force. And so we went out there opening year 2000, drove 13 hours, and waited 6 hours in line to ride it. And that's when I knew I was hooked on roller coasters. I was like, every year we're coming back here. And for the most part, for the first 5 or 6 years, we kept going back and staying longer and doing more stuff. And then when I moved out to Virginia, it just opened up my eyes to the community and how big the coaster world really is. When I moved to Virginia, I knew about King's Dominion. I didn't even know a Busch Gardens Williamsburg existed. So when you said Busch Gardens, I immediately thought it was Tampa. I lived here for 6 months and didn't know there was a Busch Gardens park 2 hours away.
Wow.
It's kind of funny. When I first moved to Virginia, the only park I knew of was King's Dominion 2, and the only reason why I knew that was because of Volcano. I lived in Pittsburgh, and I knew Cedar Point because Cedar Point's kind of fringe area for Pittsburgh. They market in Pittsburgh, so if you live in the Pittsburgh area, you knew Cedar Point. So I knew that. I knew Geauga Lake, Kennywood, and then outside, the only park I knew existed was King's Dominion. And the only reason was because I knew they had this roller coaster that shot you out of a volcano.
So the funny thing is I knew about King's Dominion. I didn't know it was the park that had Volcano. So when I showed up there for the first time and saw Volcano, I was like, "Oh my god, I've seen that!" On the so I was like, really lucked out. Kings Dominion's a great home park to have.
Yeah.
You know, I know the last couple of years have been kind of slow. We did get Twisted Timbers, so we can't complain too much. But you know, since I-305, it seemed like things have really slowed down in the growth area at Kings
Yeah.
Dominion. But we still have some gems that have come out of it. You know, Winterfest has been an amazing event that they've been putting on,
Hmm.
which extended our season. I still think that King's Dominion's Haunt is better than Busch Gardens' Hollow Scream. So
And
I think it's gorier, edgier, more in your face, and they change it up more than Hollow Scream does. So
for a long time
uh,
there, I would have agreed with you, or I would have disagreed with you, but I honestly do think now, for the past couple of years, Han has definitely become, like you said, a lot more edgier, a lot more in your face. Hellish Game seems to, like, they only, I believe they've transferred to now they only do face paint there. It's really, like, I feel like masks are what make Halloween Halloween, and it's like, if they don't have masks on, it's almost like defeats the purpose of having these scary guys out there. So for a long time, I thought that Hellish Game was better, but I think I've slowly transitioned to thinking Han is the better event, yes.
yeah, I just you know it's the Busch Gardens did a lot of the upsell stuff right early on, and we've lost a lot of it, which sucks. They used
Yeah.
to have special dining experiences.
Hmm.
Um, they used to have a lot of really cool stuff, and they just kind of toned that down. The best show in the park was Fiends, and they
Yes.
took it out.
Yes.
They took out
Oh my
Fiends, and they didn't
gosh.
replace it with anything.
No, I
It's like,
know.
why?
It was
Why
insane.
even do that? It was like amazing.
I'm
You
I'm
know, I
so upset
wish.
about that I'm very very close to just riding the park and going, bring back Fiends. Come on, like come on, this is
Yeah,
no joke. I'm really
I'm sure they
close.
have a plan, and that's why you can't get too upset with it. You know, so well, most of the time you have to think that they have a plan. But you know, I really was hoping King's Dominion would push that, we'll say, sexy envelope and do something like Fiends, because I really think that's the one thing that they're missing is in their haunt is that the sexy part of it.
Hmm.
Um, but the fact that Kings Dominion, they've really been able to open up. They're doing more bars, they're doing more alcohol, they're doing more food specialty stuff. So that's good for Kings Dominion. And on top of that, again, I think their houses have more detail and
Yes.
are better than the Hollow Scream houses. So
Yeah. Again, yeah. For a long time, I would have disagreed, but yeah, in the past couple of years, they have really stepped up their game, and it's definitely become a lot more serious an event. And I quite enjoy it. Hellishim, like you said, it used to be the one of the greatest I think in this area, but it has really. I mean, because I'm a big. That's what got me into roller coasters was the Halloween events. That's what I used to do originally. It was go to the Halloween events, and then I was like, oh, there's roller coasters here too. So yeah, Halloween is a big thing for me. I actually remember, and I'm gonna get a little off topic here from the questions, but one of the first videos I watched of like roller coaster YouTubers was you at Busch Gardens Williamsburg Halloween. I think like 2014 or 2013, and you were doing like a review of all the food. You went to like the count guy at their in their Germany section, and you were like testing all the food and eating all the food, and you were like, this is great. And then you would go through the haunted houses, and you had like a scare cam on, and I was like, oh, this guy's awesome. He's reviewing all these rides, and then that kind of developed this passion for roller coasters, and it would develop even further to now we're doing a podcast right now, and I'm doing it with you, so that's pretty crazy. But yeah, Halloween really transferred that. So let's get back into topic now, though, and get back into the questions here. What do you think the most innovative technology to reach the attraction industry in the last 10 years have been or has been?
oh wow. Well, I think from my experience working at Funland and seeing what Disney and stuff has been able to do with it, I'm going to say RFID technology.
Hmm.
I know that's probably not what you're expecting because you're probably thinking attraction based, something like that. But I really think what we can do with the RFID technology and tracking people in the park and what Disney does with their photo system and all that, I think really that's making a bigger impact on the guest experience than some of the rides would. And the fact that Disney went into this early, and it ended up actually kind of being a flop for them. Like they spent way more money than they were expecting on
Hmm.
their fast or their what do you call it system, Magic Band system. They put way too much money in it. It didn't work right when they started it, but
Hmm.
now look where it's at. I mean, it's incredible going to a Disney park and being able to have your pictures going automatically to your account, and being able to get into the parks, your room key, all that stuff just falling into that RFID chip. You don't have to have a wallet anymore. You can just use your mobile app or RFID chip. So I think the mobile app technology and stuff as well is going to be a big plus. When again, I go back to Disney, the lines for food were forever long, but you could jump on the app, order your food, and it would be at the window in like 30 seconds. So it was like
Yeah.
incredible how quick you could navigate their system if you knew how to do it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, and like you said, it wasn't what we were expecting, I think, but it, it's
I
one of
just
those things
remember-
though, that you don't realize.
Mom, you gotta go, please.
Yeah,
Please
I
go.
go back to the photo passes because I remember way back in the day. Okay, when you got a photo, what happened? They printed it out, you carried it around the park, and then I like Dollywood for some reason clicks with me being the first one I remember putting it on a thumb drive. Like you wore a thumb drive around your neck and you go around and they put the
Mhm.
Oh,
photos on
wow.
the thumb drive, and you would pay $30 for the thumb drive, but you get all your photos for the day. And then Six Flags did it. And now I will say, okay, I have both Busch Gardens and King's Dominion. King's Dominion's photo pass is amazing. The fact that it goes straight to your phone, everything, boom, 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 awesome.
Mhm.
The Busch Gardens app is kind of clunky and it doesn't work together very well with the software, so it's harder to get your photo. And on top of that, their photo system is not very high quality. Where I think King's Dominion has higher quality pictures. So sometimes you're looking at your Busch Gardens picture and you're like, this is very low quality. I don't like it.
I haven't really noticed much of a quality difference, but I've only, I mean, I got my photo pass at Busch Gardens for one whole day for this season, so I have like 2 pictures, so I don't know that that's enough of a sample size. I will agree
The
though.
pictures that they do with like the Clydesdales, those are really good high quality pictures.
Yeah,
The pictures they do on rides are not very high quality. So
I definitely noticed that with I have an Apollo's Chariot one from I think Bob when we went. It was me, you, Timmy, and,
Yeah,
and Alex, and I
guess
remember. Yeah, I remember
guess
seeing the
never really
quality
paid
definitely was a
much
little
attention.
degraded. Definitely not high qualities. Because King's Dominion, yeah, I mean, especially like even the nighttime photos are like fantastic. I mean, they're very high def. I mean, I've gotten many different photo chances with you guys because you both have them, and I both times I've been to parks
Yeah.
with you guys, I know we've gotten the photos, and I know a lot of times when we do nighttime photos, they come through really crystal clear and really awesome. So that's definitely something I've noticed as well.
The Cedar Fair Fun Picks too. They do a really good job of the with the flash and everything. The systems work well. And I kind of always have wondered if the cameras are actually much higher resolution, but the only reason why you get the lower quality in all cases is just because of storage. Because you figure how many photos they're storing for
Yeah.
years. Like that's a lot of hard drive space.
I think they only save the unclaimed photos for 7 days. So you have 7 days to look at your photo. After that, it disappears.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Fun Picks. I know Dollywood does it for 30 days.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it's 7
yeah.
days, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
Now that we're talking about this was just sitting on my desk. This is the coolest on-ride photo I've ever gotten. It is from Legoland, and it's actually Legos.
Wow.
So you can
that
take
is
this apart,
really cool.
and they printed the photo on the side of the Legos.
That is fantastic.
So those listening on the podcast, this is
From
literally
2011.
It is literally made of
literally a
Legos.
stack of Legos that they actually printed the photo on. That is a really cool. That is really cool.
And
That's a
I
great.
don't save souvenir cups that often. I know I have a whole bunch back here, but those are the Six Flags ones that I have to keep because they make you keep a souvenir cup. Damn you, Six Flags! But
Amen.
one of the ones that I did save was this Legoland auger cup. It was an icy cup that has an auger, so you can put 2 different flavors in and then twist them together.
Wow.
I don't know why I thought that was the coolest.
That is really cool.
That is cool.
I did save that too. So props to Legoland.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
they're
Now I
that's
really want to
cool.
go to Legoland. Just
Yeah, just for the
It's-
merchandise.
It's a nice park to go to and get your credits, but it's not something you're going to enjoy and have fun at. It's definitely for little kids. If
Yeah.
you have a little kid to bring, then you might have more fun.
I have a niece and a nephew.
There you go. I got a niece. I got 2 nieces and a nephew that was born 2 days ago. So
Oh, nice.
And I'm
So you're
16, and
set
my
for a
my
while.
brother and sister have not yet had children. So soon, maybe soon. All right. So we talked about what you think the most innovative technology has been in the last 10 years, but what do you think the future holds? What about the next 10 years? What do you see coming? What do you see that is needed in the industry right now?
Well, okay, so we're seeing, and I think Universal. I'm giving credit to Universal for this. They have upped the game with theming when it came to Harry Potter, and
Mm-hmm.
what is that? 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
Um, and we're going to see even more of that in the new park. Hopefully, it still happens. Um,
Yeah.
but Disney it's causing others to up their game. So now Disney has Rise of the Resistance, which I've looked at POVs of, and it's phenomenal. Even their new Mickey ride, the Runaway Train ride, I think is amazing. Um, so it's going to be really cool to see all the mix of technology that they're doing to bring the theme and the immersiveness to the attraction. You're really going to be more immersed into the story than you were in the past, and I think that's really really cool.
Yeah, I'm glad to see theming coming back in the industry. It seemed like, I mean, outside of Disney and Universal, they've kind of always had the theming, but parks seem to all fall away from it. And I think we've recently seen a kind of a resurgence of the theming. And I think for so long people underestimated how much that can impact the ride experience.
Mm-hmm.
Just,
Yeah,
I mean,
I would say the regional parks have no business being in the theme industry. So let that happen at the bigger level, because it's just going to cost too much. And for your audience, I don't think the theming matters that much at a Cedar Fair at Six Flags. Which you see, I mean, if Six Flags really cared about theming, they wouldn't have ads everywhere.
oh yeah,
Yeah, they're an amusement park,
yes,
not a theme park. Uh,
they're a billboard.
they're a billboard, yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I think what they're doing with the theming is it's going to get better, and they're going to come up with better ideas. For a while we were kind of stuck in the every ride is going to be like Spider-Man and Transformers, and all these rides kept coming out. We're like, I don't want to put 3D glasses on anymore, and now they're finding ways to make it even better. So. If they went back to the drawing board and did Forbidden Journey now, I don't think it would have glasses, and I don't think it would be in the domes. I think you would be in big rooms with the screens
Mm-hmm.
and those interactive elements. So
That's great.
So we have a question from Coaster Crew in the chat right now, and he wants to know what your opinion is on Volcano. What you think King's Dominion will replace it with?
well, I don't. This is only my guess. I don't think King's Dominion planned on shutting down Volcano. And with that being said, you know, parks usually have a plan. And since this wasn't part of their plan, I don't think we're going to see anything being put into there for another couple years. Because I think they've already kind of structured their layout of what they're going to want to do. I think that's why we saw, okay, Dinosaurs Alive, was closing up in that area. I think is going to be utilized for something. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I know there's rumors about wing coasters and all that kind of stuff. You know, I think we're due for something big. I want Kings Dominion to go big. I, I know they took a big risk with Intimidator, and really for the enthusiasts, it's an amazing coaster, but for the general public, it's not. And if imagine if Intimidator was a B&M coaster, that thing would always have a line. It
Mm-hmm.
would just be that's the case. It would just be a better coaster. Um, and so I love it. I know it's in my top five, but for the general public, it's just too intense, and that's why it didn't get the praise that Fury and Leviathan and those coasters get. And so I really hope we see more B&M style coasters come in, more general public guest experience coasters coming in. So who knows what we're going to see there. I think they teased us prematurely. I think they're just doing something and hoping we forget about it. Like, ooh, here's a sign.
So regarding I-305, this is something interesting, and I may disagree with you a little bit here, but that's our opinions. Um, but the funny thing that I found about I-305 is I know a lot more enthusiasts that hate it and general public friends that love it. And in some ways, I think there's like there's a real big misconception with that coaster on all the fronts. And, I think it's kind of a hard thing to judge on just how successful it is, especially because it's also a capacity machine. So, that's part of why the line isn't there. No, I'm not saying that that's, the only factor. But all of that aside, the thing that I think that I-305 is most instrumental for at King's Dominion, and let me know your thoughts on this too. I think it's kind of it's almost like an atmospheric thing. People kind of are drawn to it, like it's kind of like one of those, like, let's go see this insane machine. I'm scared to death to get on it, but I
Mhm.
want to go see it. And I think that there is a certain level of attraction of like that type of a coaster. I think there's a level of people just want to go and watch that thing, even if they're afraid to ride it. And I mean, a lot of times you see people hanging out and just watching that coaster, and I wonder how much. Yeah, obviously this isn't something that King's Dominion puts into a line item. Like, this is how many people have come to King's Dominion just to watch I-305. But I really wonder how much of a draw there is there that's kind of like, kind of being missed out on.
I would say Apollo's Chariot is very close to the same type of capacity. Yet on busy days, it will have a line, and
Oh no, I
and
I agree.
and
I
so I think the general public has spoken in the sense that people have ridden it and they were uncomfortable with it and they won't ride it again. Um, so it turned into one of those things where yes, people still ride it, and there's a lot of people who still ride it, but it's nowhere near what it could have been. I think I would even say, okay, Apollo's Chariot may be a bad example, but I'd say Fury,
Yeah.
Leviathan. I think they
Yeah.
have very similar outputs in rider how many people can ride, and I would say that the line gets very long for those rides
Yes.
on days
Yeah.
when the park is busy. Where I-305, you can go on a busy Saturday and it'll be a 10-minute wait if that. So
Yeah, I certainly agree with you. I mean, there's definitely a higher percentage of people that will not ride I-305 as opposed to the larger B&Ms. I certainly agree with you on that point. But what do you think about just the attraction of people wanting to go see the thing? Do you think that there is a level there?
I think if you're a park building rides for people to watch, you've struck
Well,
out.
I, obviously that's not their intent, but I still wonder how much of a draw there is. People just thinking, wow, this is kind of a cool thing. I mean, well, let's think about it. People go to New York and it's like, oh, we have to see the Empire State Building. So what's it do? Nothing.
Mhm.
At some point, it may not be a repeat visitor thing, but it's one of those things that kind of puts them on the map in a sense of like this crazy machine. People recognize it.
And I would agree that yes, it puts them on the map, and yes, people are attracted to it, but it's the re-rideability that makes it necessary. And I think Volcano had more re-rideability,
Oh,
and that's why the lines were
absolutely.
always so long. And so we we as a park have lost the most iconic coaster at the park and
Mhm.
the most
Yes,
rideable
absolutely.
coaster at the park. And I really hope Kings Dominion can come back and put something that is going to be, obviously not Volcano, but something that's going to have the same kind of love and attraction that Volcano had.
Yeah.
Again, the hit or misses for Kings Dominion are more misses than hits.
Mhm.
Hypersonic was a miss.
Yeah.
Um, there's been things that they've put in and taken out, and they just didn't work. I would say Snoopy Starlight Spectacular and Dinosaurs Alive were things that worked at other parks but didn't really work at our park.
Mhm.
And so it's going to be interesting to see what we can do, what they can do that will make it unique and hopefully win everybody over. So we want them to be successful. We want
Yeah.
Kings Dominion to be as
Yes.
successful
Oh,
as possible
absolutely.
so we could get more stuff. The more success they have, the bigger stuff comes. So,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
we
It's
want that to
definitely
happen, and I'm really hoping that we see good things. So
yeah. It has been a tough couple of years, but yeah, I really hope that if they put something there that's I don't want to see them try to copy Volcano, but I want to see
Yeah.
them find something that hits the same target as Volcano, which I think is going to be a tough thing to do because in some ways I think Volcano was it kind of like accidentally hit that sweet spot that King's Dominion needed, and I mean it's a huge loss for the park, and I think they've been seeing it too, and I hope they find something that really fits that that target, that sweet spot. I hope they can find something.
yeah, again, I think from a thrill seeker standpoint, we've lost more than we've gained over the last 10 years, in
Yeah,
my
For sure.
opinion. So,
yeah,
this year when we open, we're not going to have the crypt there anymore.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that area is just barren now.
It's not even the
I don't
Congo
want to
anymore.
lose Avalanche. I think Avalanche is a great, unique ride that they need to keep.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
but that whole area, I hope they got plans. I do.
It's
I really want them. I want a home run.
it's
So
really not even the Congo anymore if you think about it. I mean, there's no volcano, there's no crypt. There's a snow themed coaster. They just retheme it to like the Arctic or something. I guess I don't
That's what
know.
they should do and match Avalanche. Just roll with Avalanche.
Yeah, it's the Arctic. All right, Clint. Thank you so much for coming on. That was such a great interview. We had a lot of fun talking with you, and we'll see you next time. We hope to have you back on soon.
all right, guys, we'll see you on the midway.
Thank you for
Yes.
coming on.
Hopefully sooner than
Rather,
rather than later. But let's get this pandemic out of the way and
all right.
awesome.
That's it.
I accidentally just stopped the stream instead of stopping the recording of the podcast, but hopefully that doesn't.
Radio magic.
Did you say you stopped the stream?
Yep, I stopped the stream, but I don't know if it'll continue or not. It should continue. Hopefully, it's just like a little stutter or something. Because I
Hopefully it's
stopped it
not
on the
behind
podcast end, not on the. I mean, I stopped it on the OBS end, not on the YouTube end.
You need to learn your stop buttons, James.
All right,
All
Clint.
right, guys, you guys don't need me anymore.
Nope. I mean, you're free to go.
All right, guys,
We definitely
we'll
would
talk to
let.
you soon.
Yep. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks,
Oh,
Clint.
no problem. As soon as we get information on opening Fairfax and stuff, we'll send you guys an invite so you guys can come out to the VIP night up there. And I'm sure
Awesome.
we'll do some type of big party at Funland when we're able to reopen. So
That's fantastic.
we'll definitely keep you guys in mind.
I look forward to it,
Awesome.
Clint. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Clint.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Bye. Bye, guys. All right, let me fix the. All right, guys, we're gonna go out of this real quick. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, and we got Baba down there. Oh wait, this is the wrong screen. Never mind. I'll transition back. All right, now we're back. Hello, everyone.
Hello again.
Thank you guys so much for sticking with us there. I know a lot of you guys were there for the Clint interview, so stick around. We have some good stuff to talk about as well later on for this. So. I thought that would be like a 15-minute interview. It went on for
how long was it?
an hour and 5 minutes.
he wasn't kidding.
You listen to, I mean, in the loop, they go on for like 3 and 4 hours sometimes. It's crazy. They are definitely more of a just ramble on, continue to talk. It doesn't matter. They don't care. You know how we have like set things to talk about? They just talk. They just talk. I've tried to listen to full episodes of In the Loop. You literally have to be going on like big trips to listen to full episodes of that.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to listen to long podcasts for me. That's why I think I told you the first podcast I listened to and used to listen to religiously was This Week in Tech, and they just started getting so long that it was the only time I could really listen to it is if I was driving to Pennsylvania, and then I don't drive there every week, so.
All right, you ready to? I'm gonna save this as the Clint interview. That way I know I need to edit this.
Let me switch my windows around here.
I love post-production too, because some of the questions I asked, I kind of worded them weirdly, so I can just go back and I can just pre-record. I can just re-record myself going, "Yeah, Clint, what do you think about this?" And it sounds better. You don't have that opportunity because.
No, I don't. You can make me look like a moron.
I can just edit in. I'm a big dumb stupid head in post-production. Thanks, Bob. Now Clint. Maybe that's something I do. Don't get on my bad side, Bob.
No, I try not to. Actually, I don't try that all the time.
I don't think you try that hard. All right. So we're starting out over the start of the show. Talk about forgot about inversions being overrated. That's kind of a fun topic. All right, we'll get to that. All right, you ready?
1 second.
Actually, I need to do something real quick. I'll be right back. Alrighty then. You ready?
Okay, 1 second. I need to finish typing something. And my keyboard can't predict anything anymore.
All right, so I'll give everyone an overview of what the podcast is going to be like, since you guys are probably waiting and watching. We're going to be talking about the Indiana Beach announcement, how they're open for business. The Chicago businessman bought them. You have his name, correct? I'm not sure of his name.
Somebody Staples. Gene Staples, I think.
Gene Staples, all right. And how they're planning on opening for 2020. Then we're going to talk about Cedar Point and they came out and said that they think that they're an essential service, and then the community around them thinks they're an essential service because they bring in so much revenue and people to their area. Then we're talking about Schwarzkopf. Then we're going to talk about if inversions are overrated or not. So actually, right now, I'm going to give the prompt, guys. If you want to write in the comments if you think inversions are overrated or not, you guys could, your comments could make it into the podcast. I didn't put it up as a weekly poll because it's not the weekly poll for this week, but would love to hear any other opinions on that. Are inversions overrated? And then we take the break, and then Clint will come on for that episode for his interview, and then we're going to talk about the weekly poll, which was, in order to make a complete well-rounded park, what would you have your top 3? Bob, do you have your top 3 handy? Did you write that out yet? I wrote mine down.
Whoops.
Did you know you're supposed to do that?
My dog ate it.
And then the weekly poll for next week is if you think B&M multi-looping coasters are going to follow the same pattern, the same following the footsteps of Aero Loopers and become respected rides somewhat, but considered to be uncomfortable and and rough attractions kind of. And that is the episode this week. Are you ready, Bob?
Yep.
Alrighty, let's start the show. The show must go on. All right. All right, here we go. I'm going to start your audio. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. My name is James Barber. Oh, wow.
And I'm
Nope,
Bob
nope,
Burns.
nope, nope. Voice crack. Nope, nope, nope. I'm James Barber, and oh boy, it's not fun being a teenager. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. My name is James Barber,
And I'm Bob Mertz.
and it is April. Didn't look at the date yet. Dang it, I forgot when is it dropping? Oh, it's Sunday. We drop it on Sunday. So what is the Sunday's date? Can you tell me?
Sunday.
It is the 26th. All right, April 26th. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. My name is James Barber,
And I'm Bob Mertz.
and it is April 26th, 2020. And wait a second. I just remembered we were going to record the new intro as well. You think we should just do that after we record the podcast?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, well, because I actually have not I haven't written a script yet, so I said I would and I didn't. I lied.
Maybe we should do it next week.
No, we need to do that this week. I cannot use the same Mike Collins thing. I feel like we kind of have to. I already have it all set up and everything, so I think we can just. Takes like 10 seconds. It's just like a quick little
All right.
10-second
We'll do it
blurb.
after then.
We'll do that after that. We'll do that after. Not on the live stream, sadly. You guys don't get to see that. All right.
Because it'll be a train wreck, probably.
Yeah, exactly. So we'd rather you guys not see that. All right, let's start now. I know this is like the third time. Here we go.
Third time's a charm, though.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. My name is James Barber,
And I'm Bob Mertz.
and this is the week of April 2013, and I'm James Barber. I don't even know sometimes what I'm talking about. Like, I just say random things. And it doesn't follow any logical pattern. It just comes out of my mouth. It just flows out.
that is awesome. You just missed the date completely.
2013. Days don't even get
wait,
it that.
did you say 2013?
Yeah.
I didn't even catch that because you said the week of April.
Oh my gosh.
You didn't say 26th at all.
It's the week of April. All 30 days of it.
In the year of the 26th.
2013.
Today is May.
Tomorrow is June. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. My name is James Barber.
And I'm Bob Mertz.
And it is April 26th, 2020. This is episode number 70 of the show. And this week we have some exciting news to talk about as Indiana Beach has finally announced that they are reopening. We've been speculating about this for so long, Bob. I feel like it's been an eternity. And it's finally confirmed. It is finally for real. Indiana Beach is opening for at least, we don't know 2020 because obviously this corona crisis could easily take over the parks for 2020. But
the Indiana Beach stuff has been happening longer than we've been shut down for coronavirus.
Yeah.
And that already feels like
an eternity. Yeah.
It's been a really, really long couple.
It really has. It really has. So Indiana Beach was bought by a Chicago businessman, and I believe I don't know his name. What is it?
Gene Staples, I believe.
Gene Staples? All right. Gene Staples, this Chicago businessman, bought it from Apex. So no longer an Apex property. Apex is going to go through with bankruptcy, and all their other parks are going to close. So Indiana Beach, though, is remaining open. So no Fantasy Island, none of those parks are going to remain open, sadly. But Indiana Beach is saved, which is great. So all the attractions that we love and cherished from Indiana Beach are staying operational. And 2020, it looks like it's going to be the year of Indiana Beach is going to reopen. Unless, again, anything happens in terms of corona crisis and how long that's going to be extended. But if it was up to Indiana Beach, they would be opening 2020. They are back on business. They're back on track.
Yes.
And what you were saying is funny, is that this originally started with some sort of Facebook news post, I believe.
Yeah, it was interesting. First, the first thing that happened is Indiana Beach actually posted a photo saying, "We're back."
Mm-hmm.
Great news. That confirms it. They're back. Excellent. And then everybody found this Facebook post, which the Facebook account was called News and Review. And I mean the icon for the account was just some guy like making a weird smile. It didn't look reputable at all. Turns out the information was correct, but the thing that got me was all of a sudden the entire Enthusiverse, that's what I'm calling it, Enthusiverse, just went nuts. Like, oh, Gene Staples bought this park, and here's the press release. I'm sorry, a press release doesn't happen on Facebook. I don't care how vital Facebook is to people's lives right now. That's not where you put press releases. And there's nothing coming out from any of the news outlets, and everybody's like, oh, well, here's the link. And everybody keeps sharing this Facebook link, which to me just seems odd. Then all of a sudden, a news story from, I forget the name of it, but it's like a branch of USA Today who,
Mm-hmm.
some people question the quality of journalism there. They have this article announcing that the park has been sold, and they cite their source as this Facebook post. Which whether the information is correct or not, that is some pretty crappy journalism. If you just say, "Hey, look, Facebook said it was so," it must be true. Like, if it's on the internet, it must be true, right? Obviously. Finally, it was like an hour later that people there actually wasn't a legitimate journalistic site that came out and announced they had talked to the White County officials, and they actually confirmed that Gene Staples is the new owner, and that he is president of Indiana Beach Holdings LLC, which was formed in March. We found out from another source, and that LLC is now the owner of the Indiana Beach Park.
And is the resort? Does anyone know if the actual resort is the resort? And I know they own like the surrounding area with like maybe a hotel or something. Is that as well part of this deal?
Are
you there? Bob? All right. We look like we lost Bob there for a second, so check. I don't know if the live stream's still functioning. I don't know what's the problem. Are you back?
What was that? Yeah, what was that?
You just froze up and stopped talking. But that's all right, because you never really started talking about what I said. So just continue with what you were talking about.
I don't know where.
I said, is the resort included in this? And you said, and then cut out.
I said a lot.
All right, well,
You may not have heard it, but I said a lot.
restate everything. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, go.
So it's, they're nothing.
Oh boy, this is not going to be fun. All right, guys, we're trying to, he froze up again. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. This seems to be a pretty severe issue here. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I know he disappeared. And it's frozen up. This is, I don't know what's going on right now. This is a strange issue. He's not picking up either, so. Whoop, whoop. Looks like it might be a Discord issue here. Looks like there might be connection problems with Discord here. Because they're trying to connect me and it doesn't seem to be functioning. So that means that we may have to go to Skype. Which means it would just need to be me on the live stream because Skype does not allow me to record the video. And it doesn't record as good video audio, which kind of sucks. I think what just happened is Discord went down. So, might have to go to Skype. So it might have to just be me in this picture. So we'll be right back. I'm going to transition out of this. We'll be back in a second when we figure everything out. All right, guys, we're back on the live stream. We're gonna try to get Bob on Skype here. It looks like Discord is down right now, so it has nothing to do with our technology here. It's all good here. Sadly, we just rely on these apps too much, so we're back now. Trying to get Bob on. I thought he said he was getting on, so it's been a second here. Let me try calling him real quick. You can hear that audio. He's not answering. Strange. All right, well, we are definitely starting here in the next couple seconds, so when he gets online, we're going to start here. I'm going to go get a sweatshirt. It's actually kind of chilly in my house right now. Be right back. There he is. All right, we're good.
Yo.
All right. Let's try it this way.
All right. I can't see you, just FYI.
And now your audio is coming through really loud. I know. I don't have my camera on.
Well, none of the settings in Discord are carried through, so
Now you're really loud, so everyone's going to be able to hear you really well. But no one can see you. That's not my problem.
hold on. I can change my. Oh, Skype doesn't have any volume settings and input settings and stuff. Well, that's worthless.
You should. Yeah, they do.
I mean,
Speakers.
yeah, but it.
Oh, there's a little switch that you turn off, automatically adjust microphone settings, and then you can manually do it.
I don't have any manual stuff.
Yeah, you have to click automatically. It says it automatically adjust microphone settings.
Yeah, I clicked that off.
And then it should come up, because all mine comes
Nope.
up.
I don't have any of that.
Okay, well, your Skype's broken. It's all right. I'll amplify you on the other end, and then you'll sound fine on this one. It's gonna be a drop in audio quality though. It's kind of funny.
Stupid Discord. No, I don't know that it's really Discord's fault. And that he is president of Indiana Beach.
All right. Well, I said something about, was it their whole resort that got bought, and then you were gonna go off on a rant. So you want to start back right there?
Yeah, I've only done the rant twice now, and you haven't heard any of it.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
So it's not real clear if they, exactly what the details are and, what is or isn't included. I would expect that it's basically everything that that Apex previously owned. As far as like the resort and things, if I recall from what I understand is most of that is built as like a second level to the park. So I don't really know if there's any way that could be separated. So I think a fair assumption would be it's everything that Apex owned, but
Yeah.
again, that's just an assumption.
Yeah, well, this is such great news. I'm so thrilled, so happy that this such a historic and such a well-loved park. I mean, I love how everyone in the amusement and enthusiast community really came together and really was pushing for this park to reopen and to not be sold off. I mean, everyone, even people that, we have enthusiasts that only really care about the big thrill rides normally. Even I saw on different platforms were really speaking out and going, "Oh, come on, Indiana Beach," and it doesn't have the biggest thrill rides. It's not the biggest coaster park, but I saw a lot of people out doing that kind of thing and saying, "Help Indiana Beach out. Come on, we want Indiana Beach to open." Obviously, we don't want to lose a park, and it's great that we're not going to now.
Yeah, you never want to lose a park, and especially one like this that has a lot of unique features and unique coasters,
Yeah.
and just, I don't think there's anything. I'm obviously haven't been there yet. It was my plan in like June to go there.
Fingers crossed.
But yeah, like every just everything I know about it, it's just such a unique park, and this is just such great news, and really welcome to have good news in such a rough time.
Yeah, this really has been like the golden story to follow while we've all been in quarantine. Now it's finished. We finally have a story tale ending to this, a fairy tale ending to this story, because it happened. It happened. It's saved. We don't have to say goodbye. It's fantastic, and it's a great feeling to almost like we won in a sense. Obviously we didn't do anything actually to help this, but in a sense, this is something, like volcano closing and all of that kind of sad stuff that we can't really help. We can't really do anything about. It's almost like when we talked about it on the podcast and we followed it, and we were, come on, Indiana Beach. We found different news sources saying it might open. It's almost like we were rooting for it, and it won, and we won. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, you say, I mean, obviously we didn't do much, but I think that the voicing of our opinions and the outcry and how vocal people were about the loss of this park, that's certainly had an impact on why Gene Staples decided to purchase this park. Yeah. And I mean, obviously we don't know the full intent. We don't know, is he looking at this as a park? Is he looking at this as an investment? As both? Does he want to save the park? Is that his goal, or did he just see a way to make money? All of these will be answered. I mean, obviously, coming from Apex, I don't think that it can be any much worse. I mean, certainly the park being open is better than being closed. So we're definitely moving forward in that direction. Mm-hmm. But I really hope that this guy is actually really looking at this as a park and wants to make it thrive as a park, as what the original owners did.
That is so true, and I look forward to the future of this park. It's always looked like a fun park to get to. I've always wanted to. Very disappointed when, obviously, we heard the news of its closure, and it's a great feeling to know that it's still now available to get up to whenever this Corona thing ends, and whenever I have the availability to get up there. It's definitely something I want to check out.
Yes, certainly.
All right, so a little bit of more news. Not news as much as just a little bit of a cool story to talk about. So Cedar Point is a big thing for Sandusky. It always has been, always will be. It's really, I mean, it's what people know Sandusky, Ohio for. And the local businesses near Cedar Point are actually claiming that this is an essential business for them. Cedar Point is an essential business for them. They're saying that in order to help us small businesses, we need Cedar Point. It brings in a lot of people. It brings in a lot of revenue. I think they said it brings in almost 23 million people. It brings about 25,000 jobs to the area, and it raises almost $400 million in taxes. So it is what they're saying, and also Cedar Fair is saying that it's vital to the economy. It's vital to the economy of Sandusky.
Yeah, this whole story, it makes me feel things, and they're not all good things. I want to start by saying they're not wrong. Well, hold up. 23 million people. Their numbers, I think, are drastically inflated. I think they are blowing it a bit out of proportion. But their statement as being essential to the small businesses thriving, yes, I think they are. But this is all being taken out of context, I think. And they're kind of like, the way this seems to be going is, well, they made the comment of, I'm sorry, I gotta pull this up. You'll have to edit. I'll just pick up right from there whenever I find this quote.
All right, let me just wait. I stopped it, so don't.
Okay.
All right, you can go now.
They said that this was a quote from them. We don't have the luxury of making up that time in November, meaning if we don't open soon, we can't make that up. There's not, like, the statement isn't necessarily wrong, but it's completely ignoring the greater problem of what's going on. It's almost like, yeah, okay, that's important. We understand the importance of that, but at the same time, like, you may only have one shot at doing this, but we also only have one shot at saving lives as well. And there's a delicate balance that has to be made here on the economy and lives. Now, obviously, the economy is important, but economic things can be recovered. Once somebody dies, they die. And to see, thousands of people die that shouldn't have, that's something to take into account. So I think that they're like, yeah, they're not wrong, but at the same time, they're completely ignoring this fact of what is truly essential. Yes, they are essential to the small businesses, but at the same point, those small businesses aren't necessarily essential at this time of the pandemic that we are in right now. So they're kind of making an argument that's not taking the whole picture into account, and it just bugs me. I don't want to fully disagree with them and say they're absolutely wrong, because they're not wrong. They are correct, but they're kind of like ignoring a lot of very important things in an effort to kind of fast track the opening of this park, in a sense of, they made the statement that, oh, they're, the safety of their guests is important. Well, it's not the guests safety that's the problem.
Did you stop talking?
I couldn't. I heard a lot of noise. I didn't know what was going on.
Oh, was that? I meant to mute my mic. Dang.
Oh, it wasn't muted.
Not muted?
It was not muted. See, that's the problem.
Okay, what were you? Okay, just continue where you were then. All right.
So they were saying that
wait.
like,
I didn't know you were gonna start that soon. Jeez. All right, here we go. Now you can go.
So they said the safety of our guests and employees always come first, but they're kind of ignoring the fact that those guests and employees can spread the virus to people that aren't necessarily their guests and employees. So in a sense, it's almost like, yeah, our guests and employees, their safety is important, but we don't really care, like, if they spread it outside, like the other people that might be affected by it. It's just kind of like a little bit of a selfish attitude to take, even though, again, they're not wrong, but I just don't like I don't like the gist of what they're saying at this point of the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I don't know. It really depends on the lives at stake here. Yes, I know lives are at stake, but you really, like you said, you gotta find a happy medium. And I don't know what that's gonna be. That's gonna come from the state, from the government here soon, hopefully, to figure out what we can and cannot do. But until then, I think it's definitely necessary for parks like this to be closed. I can't imagine Cedar Point, Kings Dominion, these large-scale parks being fully operational like that. It just doesn't seem plausible. It doesn't seem logical. It doesn't seem smart at all for that to occur right now. I don't know when. Yeah. I don't know when will be a time. I certainly hope soon, and I certainly think so too, I think we need it soon in terms of how our economy is going to be looking. But this not an economics podcast, so we're not going to talk about that too much. But I think in order for our economy to rebound, I mean, we're going to have to be. It's going to have to be quick. Like, if this goes on much longer, it's going to be catastrophic in terms of our economy. But again, you have to find a high medium of where economy and actual lives of people, and find a medium there and figure out what the best possible option is.
And see, that's kind of the thing. I think that's more of what's bugging me about Cedar Fair's stance here, is that okay? So we're gonna have to start opening up the economy, but we're gonna have to start doing it in a certain order. Parks can't be the first places to open, because that's like just lighting a match and letting the whole powder keg blow up. You know, and I hope they understand that. And the thing is I think they understand that. And I think what they're trying to do is say, well, okay, we might be a powder keg, but all these other businesses that you think should open first, well, they can't survive without us. And it's kind of like, first of all, it's kind of an arrogant stance. They might not be completely wrong, but their attitude is very arrogant. And at the same time, it's almost like they're trying to piggyback and get special treatment in saying that, you know, these businesses that you want to open up first that are, you know, smaller and don't have the same risks as a park, well, they can't survive without us, so we might as well just go ahead and open up too. But, you know, it's kind of like it's almost like bootstrapping in a sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like playing both ends off the middle almost. Yeah, like, yeah, you want this, but you know, you're gonna go to the other person and be like, well, you know, without that we can't work. So yeah, it is not a. I don't know if it's not. Again, they're not wrong. I think they're very correct in what they're saying. But yeah, I mean,
it's more the attitude of what they're saying, how they're saying it,
how they're
and what they
presenting
want
it,
to accomplish by it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's more of a they want to gain something out of it more than they're actually saying it as a logical statement. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what comes out of that. Ohio's one of the most strict states in terms of stay-at-home orders right now, and all of the, you know, things that you have to follow in procedure. So I don't know. Could be a while till we see these parks open in Ohio. It seems like Georgia, though, and we might be seeing Georgia and Florida parks open up here soon. I don't know. It's getting kind of funny. It's funny to see like the southern states and the northern states how differently they're reacting. It's almost ironic.
It's kind of scary though, because if it's like you put all this effort in and just a few places saying, "Hey, we're going to open up," you know, that could really undo everything we've worked towards and actually put us in a worse situation. And I hope they don't. I mean, I really hope that places are smarter about doing this. I think that, you know, there might be some really good steps to take, like, you know, for instance, Kings Dominion opens up for Virginia residents only. Let's kind of prevent people from coming across the country, coming down from New York and bringing, you know, and spreading this virus to farther distances. You know, I think that's a smart way of doing it, and limiting how many people are there and things like that. You know, I think those things are important, and you know, I think this should be a controlled thing. You know, I don't want to see somebody just go, you know, off the rails. We'll use a pun to just like say we're going to do our own thing, and then have them, by them doing their own thing, they kind of damage the effort that everybody's been putting in, and actually end up causing us to be in have much longer stay-at-home orders. That's what I don't want to see. You know, I want to get through this. So that, you know, we put effort in. Let's get to where we're going. Let's not jeopardize, you know, making this longer than it has to be.
Yeah. And that's fair, and that's all coming up. I mean, we shall see what goes on. It's gonna be really interesting. It's been a long time of just sitting around waiting, but it seems like we might be starting to get some new information now in terms of what's gonna happen. Because May was like the big thing, is, you know, everyone was like, the economy's got to reopen in May. That was like, and we're coming up on May, so we shall see it. This is gonna be an interesting next couple weeks, you know, of Kosher Talk and of everything of the world, to see what's going to occur coming up. But let's try to keep out of that. Let's try to have some fun. This is Kosher Talk podcast, and we want to stay on the coaster side of it and not talk about the disease and everything like that. We've covered that quite a bit here, but let's try to get into something fun here and talk about one of the most beloved and one of the most influential, one of the most legendary
Hey,
roller coaster
James,
engineers.
let's stop in this segment. Do you Discord's now saying all systems are operational. Do you want to go back to it?
We can do so, yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, the audio quality coming from Skype is hurting my ears because it's like really shrill.
It's not very good. Yeah, we'll go
Yeah,
back.
so let's give it a shot.
Jeopardize, why don't you just jeopardize? Why don't you just jeopardize?
There we go. You there?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Real? It was like piercing my eardrum.
All right, we're back, everyone, from the live stream. You see Bob now.
Yay! Discord is alive again.
Alrighty, let's get back into what I was saying. I had a good intro. I'm kind of mad you stopped me there.
I know. I'm sorry, but I
Let's see
really
what's gonna
wanted to
occur.
switch back here.
Coming up. Let me see where I was. Fun. This is Coaster Talk Podcast, and we wanna stay on the coaster side of it and not talk about the disease and everything like that. We've covered that quite a bit here, but let's try to get into something fun here and talk about one of the most beloved and one of the most influential, one of the most legendary roller coaster engineers. All right, I'm just gonna go from where I was, and I'm gonna say Anton Schwarzkopf. Here we go. Anton Schwarzkopf, and this is Schwarzkopf as a company, kind of. I mean, it's kind of hard to say Schwarzkopf was a company because it really was Anton Schwarzkopf. So when you talk about Vekoma and B&M and Intamin, there's multiple players in that realm of their engineering firm. When you talk about Schwarzkopf, it really was mainly Schwarzkopf, just Schwarzkopf, just Anton. So
Yeah, it's hard to separate the guy from the company.
yes, so we're just going to talk about the history of the company itself, and also, what pretty much what all Anton was Schwarzkopf. So we're just going to talk about what happened, what occurred in the history, and then we're going to talk about some of the rides that we enjoy and talk about the legendary aspect of Schwarzkopf rides. So the company was originally a trailer company for circuses, so it would transport circus equipment and circus people around the country in these specialized trailers. And I think right in that, like 1957, it transitioned into an amusement rides company. And in 1957, Anton would build his first roller coaster company. So a lot of people don't realize this, but he wasn't originally the owner. It wasn't originally Anton Schwarzkopf. It was his dad who actually owned this company and ran this company. And then Anton Schwarzkopf would, when they transitioned into amusement rides, he would start building amusement rides for them. And in 1957, he built his first attraction, which is called, and 100% pronouncing this wrong, Dozenspin Spiral? Dozen Spiral? I don't know, but it was a traveling roller coaster with a German fare. It was small, nothing crazy. In 1960, though, he would take over the company. So he took over his father's company, and he would build Wildcat in 1964, which is his first large-scale steel coaster.
Wildcats are awesome.
Yeah,
I
they
love
are.
those rides.
They're a lot of fun. In 1970, the first Jetstar 2 was built, and those will be cloned, all around. There's a lot of them.
And also great rides.
Yeah, they're fun. They used to be one at Funland at Fredericksburg, which I quite enjoyed. Revolution would open in 1976, which was the first roller coaster to utilize the vertical loop, and that's really become the icon not only of Schwarzkopf but of Magic Mountain. Really, that is the big ride there. And in the movie Roller Coaster, that was like a big thing. Was that roller coaster was Revolution? So the whole plot, was about this new ride opening, and Revolution was the big thing. So that's really become an icon of that firm of Schwarzkopf, but also of Magic Mountain. In 1977, King Cobra opened as the first shuttle loop coaster and also the first launch coaster. So there's a debate there, correct? If I believe, what is it, Demon at Kings Island also opened that year?
Yeah, and that was an Arrow. So,
Hmm.
some people might say that they share it. Some might say that Demon opened. I think realistically, most people say King Cobra was it. Certainly, King Cobra was the more powerful launch. The Arrow launches were just like an electric winch that didn't really. The speeds were not well. The max speed was 46 miles per hour on those rides on the Arrows,
Yeah.
and they launched from a platform. So it was a launch plus going down a hill before they reached 46 miles an hour. So you're looking at maybe like a 15 to 20 mile an hour launch, which isn't much. The Schwarzkopfs certainly they pushed the whole, the launch pushed you the whole way through the loop.
Yeah. So, irregardless, even if you don't want to say it's the first launch coaster, it was pretty darn close. It was innovative. It was extraordinary. It was crazy. But it was the first shuttle coaster as well. And really after that, they would do other attractions that we know of. But there, I mean, nothing too groundbreaking, nothing too crazy. They would do a couple more shuttle loops and a couple more launch coasters. In 1989, they would build Olympia Looping, though, which is really that has become one of the most legendary rides in the world. I mean, enthusiasts go crazy if you can get a ride on Olympia Looping. It's pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
I
I
would
mean,
love to.
that travels Western Europe, and it could be in Germany one day, it can be in England the next day. It goes all around. It's really just it's a legendary ride now.
Yeah, certainly is, and that's one that man, I really want to. I really would love the opportunity to ride that. Um, Mainly because it looks like fun, but it also, oh, I mean, and I love Schwarzkopf loopers to begin with,
Hmm.
but also just the uniqueness factor and the iconicness of it.
Yeah, and so after that, Schwarzkopf kind of went downhill. I know what I read is that he wasn't a great businessman, so because of that, the company went through a couple of bankruptcies, and a lot of rides that they had in store and plans were actually not built and not and kind of were disintegrated because of his business aspect. He wasn't a good businessman. So he's a great engineer. He was a great mind. He had great ideas, but the way he ran his company it went bankrupt multiple times. And there soon after, in the late '90s, I believe, Schwarzkopf would dismantle. I believe they sold off all their rights to Maurer, who now owns their rides and does parts for them and all that stuff. So um, it was a great run. Anton Schwarzkopf would die in the late '90s as well.
Actually,
So
I think it was 2001 that he actually passed away.
okay, 2001. All right.
Uh,
Well, late '90s, early 2000s, he died, and then in the late '90s, Schwarzkopf was dismantled. So his legacy continues, though, as his rides are still considered some of the greatest out there. There's so many great Schwarzkopf coasters that I still love so much. I mean, I rode Mindbender, Six Flags over Georgia this past year. Actually, it was 2 years ago, and I had to say it really packs a punch. Those the Schwarzkopfs, the vertical loops are crazy. They're intense. They're still really smooth coasters too, which
oh yeah.
when you think about aero coasters, the older Vekomas, they're not that smooth a lot of times, and none of Schwarzkopf's rides have been anything other than butter smooth. They're glossy. They're fantastic. I really really love their rides. So he's a legendary man. I cannot imagine with the technology of today what he'd be capable of. I mean, you see what he did back
Oh,
then.
absolutely. So I do want to do want to bring something up, and I've seen this. This is another fact that's kind of a little bit fuzzy. I think that the actual company was actually purchased by Gertzlauer, but Maurer was somehow involved in it, and I don't know the whole story of that.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I do know like Super Duper Looper is
Hmm.
actually now considered a Gertzlauer. That's who they list as the manufacturer that they work with if they need if they need support. So it's interesting, and it's kind. I think it's actually Gerstlauer still uses the Schwarzkopf manufacturing plants.
Oh,
Um,
all right. I
I believe that they actually install like most of what they make is actually done at what used to be Schwarzkopf, which is
that
kind of
is
interesting.
that is not what I heard, but that's definitely
Yeah, it's
something that
kind of interesting because I have seen references to Mauer, and I'm not sure how that actually, how all that. There's probably some convoluted story at play there on how Mauer was somehow involved. I mean, Schwarzkopf was also involved in Zero and BHS, and a bunch of different other companies that, that it's not well documented how they all related to each other. But I am pretty sure that the actual ownership now is actually Gerstlauer. So we'll just put
maybe
an
it's
asterisk
possible.
at that, and
Yeah, maybe it's possible that Maurer owns some and Gerstlauer owns others. I don't know.
that's that may be what it is. Maurer may have actually purchased certain parts or
Yeah.
aspects of it.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's kind of interesting because I have seen those references made at different places. Um, so it's kind of interesting. But yeah, back to what you were saying about the technology. I mean, it's unreal. Like you look at those launches that Anton was producing, and if he was still developing launch coasters, I think he very well could be putting the Intamin accelerator to shame.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just it's unfortunate that he grew up. I mean, yeah, he did great things back then, but it's unfortunate that he wasn't around for the technology that we have today. Because I mean, I cannot imagine in the hands of Anton what the industry would look like right now. But something that's awesome is that actually one of the most legendary coaster designers also came out of Schwarzkopf. So yes, Anton Schwarzkopf is also one of the most legendary coaster designers. But another legendary coaster figure came out, and that is Werner Schnangel. Werner Schnangel is, designed many different attractions now. I mean, he has his own element, Stangel Dive. He has his own element named after him. So
Yeah.
it's crazy how, I mean, that's fantastic. But he came out of Schwarzkopf. He started off with Schwarzkopf and later went on to become one of the most legendary and one of the most prestigious and one of the most recognized roller coaster designers of all time.
Yeah, it's so crazy. This is something you could do is go to RCDB, look up different coasters, and you'll almost always see Stengel there, him or his company. It's amazing how much impact he's had.
It really is, yeah. And again, I cannot explain how much I love Schwarzkopf rides. I mean, I ride them every time, and I'm just in so much shock. It's crazy to get on a ride that's built in the '70s and the '80s, and then just come off of it and go, wait a second, that was butter smooth. That was everything. It's complete. It has smooth. It has intensity. It has
Yep.
some airtime. I mean, it's everything you want in a coaster, and it's surprising to think, wait a second, this opened in, some of the I believe Mindbender at Six Flags Over Georgia River, that opened in '77 or '78. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, the other thing that I find interesting is the fact that Schwarzkopf never used over-the-shoulder restraints. I don't think that I remember any of his coasters having those. I know there was one that somebody put them on and then later took them off, but I don't think he himself ever used them. And I think that is a very, very uh, instrumental part in why there's still such great coasters.
That definitely could be the case. Yes, I agree in an aspect that the over the shoulder restraints definitely do add some roughness to some attractions, but I honestly just think some of them have been implemented poorly. So I don't know. That definitely could be up for debate, and I definitely can understand that. But it would be interesting to see a Gerstlauer coaster with over the shoulder restraints and see how well it functions. See how well. I honestly just think his track design was perfect,
Oh,
and I
definitely.
think
I mean, yes, his track design definitely is superior,
hmm
and I mean it's still amazing how well it holds up in comparison to others. Um, I just think that there's that additional push, and not having your head bang around, also adds to the experience as well. And I think that's how he was able to do, some of the extremely intense movements. I think if you actually put over the shoulder restraints on, I don't think you would have been able to accomplish them, because again, you have a lateral move and you slam your head into the restraint. I don't think he could have gotten away with what he did if he used the over the shoulder restraints like Arrow was using.
I don't know. It's an interesting concept to think of.
I mean, yeah, it's obviously we don't know this for sure. We haven't experienced it, so I can't say 100% sure this is definitely it. But it's something that it's something that you could consider, because there's a lot that he does a lot of swooping turns that have pretty high G forces.
Oh yeah.
Just kind of be interesting. I don't know. I don't know how the dynamics would change. I'm obviously not an engineer, so. But it's certainly something to think about, and I think that has a big impact into his rides. Is that there's a lot more of a free filling, and you're not constrained, and you're not slamming against things like you are in other coasters of the time.
Yeah, I mean, and we can talk about Mindbender at Galaxyland. That's one of the most intense roller coasters. I believe I believe before Intimidator 5, it was in terms of G-force. I think it was the most intense roller coaster on the planet. If I'm correct, I think it pulls almost 6 Gs. So I mean, it is that's a crazy ride, and I don't know. Imagine that with over the shoulder restraints. I don't know. Be interesting. But the thing is, with those rides, they're designed to do that and go that crazy intensity and do those great inversions. So with that being said, the Aero coasters of their time weren't doing that. So
Right.
Aero coasters, it very well could be that with the Gerstlauer, with Schwarzkopf, because they were going that intense. Of course, they're going to be some headbanging, but with Aero coasters, the argument is they're not really doing that much. I mean, they're doing sometimes you get an intense moment on an Aero, but the Aero coasters were not that intense. They weren't designed to be that intense. So I don't know. I just think it's a little different of a dynamic of why they are rough coasters, and why, that being said, Schwarzkopf might be with over-the-shoulder restraints. I think over-the-shoulder restraints with Schwarzkopf will be just because the plane standpoint that they're so intense that there's bound to be some shaking and some headbanging there with over-the-shoulder restraints.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. It's just you kind of look at the style. I mean, it could just be all a styling thing, but it could also be that the first coaster he built worked so well, and there was no need for over-the-shoulder restraints, and there was no need to take that into consideration. Where obviously Aero had to think about that. Sometimes I don't think they did think about it, but they should have been thinking about it.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, well, we're getting into another topic now. Schwarzkopf, great manufacturer, great engineer, great designer, legendary man. And, I mean, we pay so much respect to him for what he did with the industry. But now let's talk about something that actually, ironically, Schwarzkopf did a lot of. Inversions. Let's talk about this in this aspect. Are inversions an overrated element? They're not a bad element, because I don't think no one thinks they're bad. They're fun. They serve their purpose. But are they overrated in terms of, are they overused sometimes, almost as, sometimes they're used as almost filler elements, it seems. Like, let's throw an inversion on there. Let's throw an inversion there.
Or records.
Yeah, or records. Are they overrated in terms of what they do, the feelings that they give you? That's what we're talking about. I don't know. And this is where, we'll just bounce off each other here. I honestly...
I just want to say yes. Just flat out yes.
Yeah, I think so.
There are some things to qualify that.
Yeah, I don't know, because you think of what a roller coaster normally is that it's supposed to have a good mix of airtime and inversions, but sometimes it seems that roller coasters don't do that. Sometimes it seems that there's just, with Steel Curtain, that was just an inversion machine. Yes, there were there's 2 or 3 airtime moments on Steel Curtain?
Steel Curtain is an interesting case. What is it? Is it 9? 9 inversions?
9 inversions, yeah, but how many? I was thinking about airtime moments. I think there's 2 or 3 on that.
There's quite a few.
I thought there was
Steel Curtain's an interesting.
Or Smiler per se. Any roller coaster that does multiple inversions like that, is it does it really do anything? I mean, yes, I know Steel Curtain's supposed to be a great ride, and I don't take that away. I know Smiler's supposed to be a great ride too. I mean, I'm not saying inversions therefore make it a bad roller coaster, but are they necessary in order to make it a great ride? Like, if Steel Curtain
Oh no.
had 2 or 3 inversions and then did a bunch of other airtime moments and cool, different
be just as
things,
good as
it'd be
it
just
is
as good.
now.
Exactly. So that's where I think sometimes inversions are almost implemented, like you said, for records in case of Steel Curtain and Smiler, and sometimes just almost filler elements, like, oh, let's just throw a 0G roll here, and let's just throw that there and there. Sometimes I think that almost like manufacturers, maybe B&M in particular, sometimes they'll just throw a lot of inversions on their coasters. Like, here's a Heartline roll, here's a 0G roll, here's a vertical loop, here's an Immelman. Let's knock them all out of the park, and then we got the full package. Sometimes I feel like they almost just throw them on there instead of actually
So
thinking about a unique and different layout.
Steel Curtain scared me at first because of the announcement that they were going for the record of inversions. And every single time I heard that before, the coaster was not as good as it could be because they were just trying to cram these in. I have to say though, Joe Draves worked some serious magic because Steel Curtain is one of those coasters that I feel everything that it does feels natural. It feels like what it should be doing where it's at. And that's a rare thing for coasters that do inversions. I think that for me, the greatest example of a coaster that does inversions was Volcano. It wasn't about the inversions,
Yeah.
but it did them so well, so graceful, that it was a fun experience that didn't kill you. Like, not that inversions are very very rough or that they're all bad or anything like that, but it just like it fit so well, and it was just so natural. And I think that's the thing is Storm Runner is another one. It's like you're going upside down, but you could actually ride it and not even realize you go upside down.
Yeah, and I think there are coasters that use inversions well, but they normally, what they do is, like you said, they're not the main highlight of the ride. They're not. It's not about the inversions. It's about,
Right.
the inversion's just thrown in there, but it's about the actual ride experience and everything. And then, oh, there's an inversion here. That's cool. But when a ride tries to make it all about the inversions, a lot of Gerstlauer coasters do that. Hang Time at Knott's Berry Farm recently opened up. That's just all inversions. That's all. That's kind of the gimmick there. There's a lot of coasters that just do that, and that's kind of their gimmick. And that's not bad, but it's just inversions. I don't think make a ride that great. I think inversions, they're fun, they're fine, but they're nothing that blows your mind. Whenever I get off a coaster that does multiple inversions, I'm normally not like, holy crap. Like a lot of my favorite coasters, my top 10 probably consists of majority of rides that don't do inversions or don't do a lot of inversions, if that. And I think, there are some exceptions to that. You've said Volcano was a great one. I think Banshee, I think inverted coasters, they can get away with inversions because that's kind of their gimmick there. So I think I think inversions on those are great, and a lot of times are very intense and snappy. But a lot of times inversions aren't like that. A lot of times inversions are just, a quick little, you're upside down for a little bit, and then you're back to normal, and then you're upside down again. And it's just like, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't create a sensation. It doesn't create any adrenaline for me. It doesn't do anything really. Like what airtime really does is it gives you that butterfly feeling in your stomach, and I don't think you get that when you do inversions. Inversions are like
No.
cool. They're fun. They're interesting to look at more than they are actually ride, but they're nothing. They don't really do anything in terms of sensation.
Yeah. To borrow some words from Austin in the chat, it should be more of the experience of the ride. It's not about like let's make sure we do this, do this, do this. It should just be a natural flowing experience. And I think the designers that design for the experience and how the coaster feels rather than making sure they check off their lists. I think those are the ones that make conversions work really well. You mentioned Banshee. I think Banshee actually does it really well, even though I think they may have pushed some of those, but they designed it really well. But here's an interesting thing with inverts. We don't have an adult roller coaster that's an invert that doesn't do inversions. And I mean, if you listen to this podcast or you interact with me on Reddit or Twitter, you probably know how much I enjoy Merlin's Mayhem. It's I love the ride. It's a family coaster at Dutch Wonderland. It was designed by Joe Draves, same designer as Steel Curtain, and he works with Alan Schilke. But I will tell you this: the thing about Merlin's Mayhem that I love about it is it's an invert that doesn't do inversions, and it makes the experience so much fun. And if you ride it and you pay attention, like there's just so much that I think you could accomplish if you supersized Merlin's Mayhem and you made an adult version of an inverted coaster that doesn't have to make all these inversions. And I think we'd have I think that's something that's missing. You know, coaster manufacturers are trying to push limits. They're trying to look at all these other things. But sometimes there might be something so simple right in front of them that they're missing. And I think this is one of those things. If you take an inverted coaster and you don't do inversions, and instead you like try to, you know, it's almost like a slalom, like you're skiing, you know, you like go side to side and, you know, foot chopper effects, and you're like almost flying into, you know, kind of like what Big Bad Wolf did with flying through the village, except you don't have a floor. I mean, these things are, I think, would be spectacular, but nobody's done it. Everybody's chasing the next new thing when maybe some of the things you could do that would be quote new unquote is actually to take some of the stuff away and go more basic, because we've never had that experience.
And yeah, and I would definitely agree with that. And again, I mean, another company I think comes to mind that does inversions well is RMC. You have RMC rides that, I mean, nobody thinks the highlights of those rides are the inversions. Nobody ever goes off and goes, holy crap, did you feel that in Zero G Roll and Steel Vengeance? It's not about that. They're in there, but they're subtly in there. So again, that's what I think is important here, and I think that's what you're getting at as well, is that inversions are they're fine, they're good, you know, they're there for a purpose, but when you try to make the ride fully encapsulated in the inversions, you kind of lose a point there. I don't really know how to explain it, but you lose momentum, you lose the thing about the ride, like Austin said,
you lose the flow.
You lose the flow. You lose what was really about. You lose the experience. It's supposed to be about experience, and that's where inversions, and I even think airtime moments need to be, you know, again, it needs to be about the designer making the ride the best of his abilities, not just, again, like we said, checking off a checklist. Oh, I have an Immelman here. Oh, I have a Zero G Roll, and I have a Zero G stall here. Oh, and then, you know, it doesn't need to be about that. It needs to be about, does it flow well? Does it work well? And that's what I think RMC does. You see so many weird and strange elements on RMC coasters, and that's because I think Alan Schilke literally draws out what he thinks would work the best, and then if it fits, it fits. If not, he banks a little bit, banks a little right, you know, and it flows well. It's not just about, oh, do I have a airtime moment here? Do I have an airtime moment there? It just is like, oh, I think maybe there should be one here. Oh, I really think that's honestly what he does, in terms of what how he designs.
I think the big thing that Alan does is he doesn't sacrifice one to have another.
Yeah.
He gives it all. I will say, I think there are times, and people, I may finally get email for this, but Steel Vengeance, I actually think is one that could do with a little less inverting. In some ways, in some ways, I think Alan just kind of ran out of things. He's like, oh my God, like this is so long. Like, what do I do? And he's like, you know, let's just start twisting and finish this ride. I'm not saying that Steel Vengeance isn't a great ride. I love it. It is absolutely a great ride. But sometimes there are a couple moments at Steel Vengeance that I feel were kind of forced. Most of the RMCs that I've been on are not that way. Twisted Timbers, I think everything flows perfectly. There's no, like, everything's just fully liquid. The momentum is great, except for the trick track, but that's a whole different story because that's supposed to be
Yeah.
confusing you there. But like everything just fits. And it's not like, it's not like forcing something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think, again, that's outside of our RMC though. If you think about it, some of the most iconic coasters don't do inversions. You look at B&M and like for me, I hear a lot. If you talk about I mean, B&M inverts are a different story. But if you really think about coasters and B&M's greatest hits, a lot of times people are bringing up all of their hyper coasters. You're hearing about Fury, Diamondback, Apollo's Chariot. Yes, you'll hear some about Alpengeist and Banshee and Talon. Yeah, you hear that, but it always seems like the hypers get a lot more attention as a group. And you look at other, look at Arrow. One of Arrow's biggest accomplishments wasn't a looping coaster. It
Mm-hmm.
was Magnum. That is probably their most iconic coaster. And it stood the test of time. People, yes, there's some people that don't like it. I get that. But there are people that love it. They still love it today. It's still one of Cedar Point's top ridden coasters. How many years is it now? 30, almost 30 years now?
Yeah, 30 years.
Like, I mean, if you when we actually have a test, what if Arrow decided to do a hypercoaster and put loops on it? Well, then it would be called Still Phantom, and 10 years later, it would become Phantom's Revenge because nobody liked it. And what did they keep from Still Phantom? The part that didn't do inversion. Look at Millennium Force. There's so many of these iconic coasters, and inversions had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that important of a thing. It's a marketing thing, but then, and that's another thing you see a lot too, is you see this like, oh, we're going to do this like really great coaster, and we're going to do like 6 inversions, and people line up for it the first year. And then they don't really care about it after that. And it just kind of dwindles in popularity pretty rapidly because, yeah, it looks so good on paper, but when I actually get on and ride it, I'd rather go ride that old 200-foot Magnum XL that doesn't flip me upside down. And of course, nobody's thinking in their mind, well, I like it better because it doesn't go upside down. No, they just think, hey, I like that better. And well, those ones that stay iconic and they stay major attractions, a lot of times, I'd say probably more than half the times, those coasters don't do inversions.
And a lot of times the records that are continually brought up, I know for a fact that Steel Curtain, Smiler, a lot, at least that I've heard of, the general public don't really know that that's a record holder. But you know what they do know? You know what the records that are known by public knowledge is Top Thrill Dragster, is Fury 55. This is one of the tallest roller coasters in the world. These are all some of the tallest roller coasters in the world. That's the kind of stuff that people care about, and that's where inversions get overhyped. Yes, the marketing might be great for the first year, but soon after, they forget about that kind of stuff. Like inversions, I just think they're, again, as the segment title, they're overrated. They don't matter as much as I think parks try to make them almost as tools.
Still Vengeance. People remember it's the tallest and fastest hybrid coaster.
Yeah.
There's nothing, the inversions don't stick in people's, even in my mind. I can't tell you how many inversions Still Vengeance does off the top of my head. I don't know. I don't care.
I could, but again, that's another story.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm talking more in GP. Like,
yeah, exactly.
They don't. So what? You do what? How many inversions? And then you get into the like, oh well, is this 2 inversions or 1 inversion? Like, it gets so convoluted. The ones that stand out as the fastest Top Thrill Dragster, man. All you got to do is see that launch. That's it. It doesn't matter, and you don't need anything else.
And really, I mean, again, like I said, you never hear anybody get off a ride and go, man, that inversion was that was crazy, man. I've never heard of, other than coasters like inverted coasters where they literally, the only thing they do is do inversions. I don't hear a lot of people ever get off a ride. Like a good example is Dudadampa. that has that big vertical loop or whatever. Nobody ever says that vertical loop was crazy. They always say that launch was insane. What about the vertical loop? Oh, that was fun too. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
But it's
sure,
never like,
whatever, I don't know.
yeah, it was fine. It was good. It was fun. But that launch, man, that was insane. That's really what highlights that ride. And I think that's what a lot of things do. Is I think inversions are meant to be just fun little things that you might do after a highlight of a ride. They're just there for a little fun, they're a fun little element. But again, I think they get overrated in the sense that parks try to implement them into rides and make them more than they are. Try to make them this big highlight element of a ride, and they're not that. I mean, if you get some great airtime, you get some great airtime. I mean, and general public people can tell you, enthusiasts will tell you, some great airtime. I mean, it blows. What? We just got that airtime. Did you feel that? Oh, we almost fell out of our seats. The general public will say, we almost fell out of our seats. It was so dangerous. But I don't really ever hear anyone go like, oh, that inversion, like I almost thought I was gonna die. I mean, I just don't get the same. I don't think it's the same reception as airtime does, or
and I can
as
tell
other
you, like,
elements
I
do.
remember my sister taking my nephew on Phoenix, and like the only thing she could talk about is I had to like hold him in his seat. Like I don't think he sat on his seat at all. He was just always flying off. And I remember my dad telling everybody about the first time he took my sister on Jackrabbit. It's like I had to hold her in her seat. It's like these are the things that, like, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. You don't hear now. There is one exception. Last week I told the story about my nephew on Super Duper Looper. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that there was an inversion, but when he had his chin stuck to, or yeah, his chin stuck to his chest, that was talking about an inversion, but that was more of a physics experiment than the inversion. But for the most part, that's not inversions aren't what people talk about. You're right.
I mean, and even with rides like the classic Schwarzkopf coasters, they did more than just inversions. A lot of them only had like one or two. They had like one or two vertical loops, so it's not like Schwarzkopf tried to put like 80 million vertical loops or different inversions on his rides. He would do the great first drop. He would do some really great terrain interaction. Then he'd have one little vertical loop or two vertical loops on some rides. But I mean, there weren't multiple inversions on his rides. So talking about Schwarzkopf in that aspect, and that's
Except
what
Olympia looping.
yeah, Olympia looping. But that was more of like a spectacle to see that. That was more of like a visual thing than it was even the ride experience itself, because that was painted different colors to look like it.
Yes.
So that was
absolutely.
yeah. One thing that Austin brought up in the chat is Copyright Strike, and while I do think that is an inversion based coaster, again, the inversions definitely aren't the highlight of that ride. It is the airtime, and he said that as well. That ride, yes, it has some good inversions, but it is definitely airtime oriented, and that is what I think I enjoyed the most on that ride. I do like inversions. I will say I like the JoJo roll that it does, and I like JoJo roll on Hydra. I just think that's a really cool element to start off with, going upside down. It kind of makes the pre-lift section of the ride fun, and even though Copper doesn't have a lift, it has that launch. So it makes that kind of fun. So, in that aspect, inversions are a fun little add-on feature. But it's not the highlight of the ride. I would not say the highlight of Copyright Strike or Hydra the Revenge is the JoJo roll. Maybe Hydra the Revenge, because Hydra the Revenge really just does inversions. So, but with Copyright Strike, it's definitely the airtime is insane on that ride. And I even like the launches on that ride somewhat. So, that being said, inversions are somewhat overrated. We've come to that conclusion. They're fun elements, but they are, again, like we've said, overused, overhyped in terms of marketing and in terms of, like we said, breaking records and things like that. But now we're going to take a quick little break. And when we get back, we have Clint Novak from Funland of Fredericksburg, also a co-host of the Ride With Us podcast, and also a contributor of In the Loop. We're going to interview with him coming up after the break.
You're just going to edit that one.
Yeah. Ride With Us is a completely different podcast.
I know. You're just going to edit that.
Have you listened to them before?
Wait, Ride With Us? Ride this one.
Yeah, Ride this one.
Ride this one. Yeah. No, I've never listened to it, but I'm aware.
Yeah,
I'm aware of the format.
it is It's a podcast. My dog keeps snoring. I'm gonna have to like throw out of the room real quick.
Okay.
All right.
This is gonna be a really long episode.
God, I know. This is crazy. Let's try to make this a little more short.
Yeah.
Do you have your top 3? Sadly, we got a lot of responses though, so it's. All right, you ready?
Yep.
So this will be coming right after the after the Clint Novak interview. Thank you so much, Clint, for coming on the show. It was a lot of fun to talk with you. But now it is time to talk about our weekly poll of last week. And in this weekly poll, we asked, in your fantasy park, what would your top 3 be? And we wanted to make this a fair and a realistic thing. So we said a well-rounded collection. So don't just put in your top 3. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't like that. I don't like what I just did there.
Well, and also, you already said thank you, Clinton, for being here in the interview. So.
Yeah, no, I didn't really mean to do that. I just kind of did.
I know.
I'm tired, Bob.
You don't mean to.
We need to do this. We need to start doing this like earlier in the day because it's like I have all this energy for the show and then I get on and then it's like I'm drained by the time we do.
Yeah, the problem is then it's less likely that I'll make it.
And I'll just have you come on later on in the show. I'll be like, all right, now Bob's on.
I'm kind of getting tired too, but
Yeah, I am.
I'm good.
I can make it. I can make it.
I can make it too. I'm good.
15, 20 more minutes and then we record the intro.
Oh God, I forgot.
I just remembered that too.
Are you sure Mike Collins can't do another intro?
I mean, I could email him, but it would.
No, I meant we just stick with the intro we had.
Oh, no. I'd rather not. All right, here we go. So let's talk about last week's weekly poll now. We asked you all, in order to make a complete and well-rounded park collection, what would make your top 3? And so we tried to format this in a way that you wouldn't just put in your top 3 favorite roller coasters, because this isn't about making your favorite collection of roller coasters. This is making a well-rounded and complete collection. And we got some interesting responses. We did get a lot of people that it seemed were kind of responding in a sense of the top 3 coasters that they love and stuff like that. But we did get some people that actually seem to take this seriously and put in some family rides and things like that to make it a well-rounded collection. So I'll read the first response off real quick. The first response we got was DC Rivals as a hypercoaster. I think it's a fun and thrilling attraction that doesn't do too much inversions. It doesn't do any inversions, I don't believe, actually, but he said it doesn't do too many inversions. I think it has a non-inverting helix or a non-inverting loop at the very end. And it's like almost like a turnaround element where a normal helix would be on like a B&M Hyper. So it does do like almost like a half inversion. So whatever. Renegade as an intense wooden coaster. And then as the unique thrilling coaster of the park, I would say Jersey Devil Coaster. So that seems very thrill oriented, definitely. Like you want a thrill collection there. But I do like Renegade because I think that GCI coasters, even though they are marketed as big time coasters, they can almost act as family coasters.
Yes.
Because
I agree with that.
Renegade, Mystic Timbers, Texas Stingray, all of the GCIs that, you know, are considered to be large scale gravity group GCI coasters are they're rather, in terms of height and in terms of speed and in terms of length, they're not that crazy in terms of in stats. You know, Mystic Timbers goes 50 miles an hour, Texas Stingray goes 53, Renegade goes like 55. You know, they're not that crazy in terms of speed. They're not that tall in terms of height. And they're not that crazy in terms of what they do. They produce some good airtime. They're fun and fantastic attractions, but they're not insane rides in terms of they're not Intimidator 5. They're not Lightning Rod. They're not in your face, bam, intense, you're gonna die kind of thing on these attractions. So I think, although I know he was trying to say Renegade is the intense, large-scale wooden coaster there, it almost does act in a way as a family ride.
Yeah, you definitely can see that. GCIs do. Actually, wooden coasters are really good at bridging that gap. You can have a thrill coaster and family coaster at the same time. Uh,
Yeah.
it's hard to put into words why you can say that, but it just naturally seems to fit.
I will say more of the traditional wooden coasters like the GCIs
Yeah.
and Gravity Grove. If you talk about, RMC's getting kind of crazy with their wooden coasters, and then Intamin, Prefabs, and Gravity Grove with Voyage, obviously those are in a league of their own. But
Yeah.
the traditional wooden coaster really does almost bridge the gap between family and thrill. You have the thrill elements of some coasters, but you also have low speed, not that tall, not that long, not that crazy, but there will be some nice moments of airtime and some nice laterals and things like that for the person looking for a thrilling attraction.
Yeah, definitely.
The next response we got was definitely someone putting in, I think, their top three. If they weren't, then I don't know. This is really coincidental, but Fury was their first coaster to choose. Voyage was their second coaster, and then Montu. And those seem like three insane rides. I mean, Montu is supposed to be an insane, intense invert. Voyage is one of the craziest coasters ever, and then Fury also, on top of that, is pretty crazy. So,
Yeah.
he said I wanted a variety of
be-
thrilling attractions at my park.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind that park.
I wouldn't mind it either. I would actually probably live at
I
that
wouldn't
park.
take my family there.
Yeah, exactly. That would probably be my favorite park of all time, actually, if it had that top three. But, again, when we're thinking more of a well-rounded collection, that probably isn't the best choices. And again, we're talking in terms of having a ride for almost everyone in the family. Obviously, we don't need to put kiddie coasters in here. We're talking about making it for kids 12 and up, maybe. The next response we got was Lightning Rod at Dollywood. This is a good one. Lightning Rod at Dollywood, Verbolten at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and Terran at Phantasialand. He said, I know these are all three launch coasters, but I think they all fit in different dynamics of what they're trying to do. And he said, I would want this to be the launch capital of the world, almost like how Busch Gardens Williamsburg is the launch capital now of the world. He wants this to be the launch capital. And I think that's good. You got Lightning Rod, which is like an intense wooden coaster that does do a launch. You got Verbolten, which is a great family coaster. And you got Terran, which almost bridges that gap between the two because it doesn't do any inversions. It doesn't do anything too crazy. But it is fast-paced, and it does do some really cool and unique elements. So while it is, considered an intense ride, I think it does go like 70 miles an hour. It doesn't do anything too crazy, too intense that would, blow your mind and make a kid cry, like Lightning Rod might with some of the wave turns and insane injector airtime moments you get on that ride.
I'll tell you what, my niece loved Lightning. She rode it when she was 7, maybe 8. I can't remember how old she was at the time, but it's one of her favorites.
Well,
So,
but doesn't she like roller coasters quite a bit?
yeah, she does.
I'm
She
saying more
loves-
along the lines of your typical kid. Like, I know me, 100% getting off Lightning Rod would have probably cried as a 3-year-old, or not as a 3-year-old, as like a 6 or 7-year-old. I would be in tears. So
See, here's the thing, though. I don't know if the problem would have been getting you on Lightning Rod, but if you rode Lightning Rod, would you have really cried?
I do, because I rode Scooby-Doo coaster at King's Dominion and cried. So I'm pretty confident I would cry on Lightning Rod.
I think there's a lot more younger kids now that really enjoy crazy stuff.
Oh, no doubt.
So-
But I think in terms of a good bridge between getting them on the attraction would be Terran. Because Terran, you could say, hey, look at this kid. It doesn't do any inversions, doesn't do anything, insane, and there's no airtime moments. With Terran, it's mainly theming. That really is, I've heard, is like what the main thing is. It does have like some really good launches as well, but I've heard that the theming is really what makes this ride. So, in a sense, I'm saying you could say to a kid, yeah, I know you might not want to do Lightning Rod right now. That ride it does some really crazy things, But how about this ride? Terran looks pretty fun. That doesn't do anything that crazy. It doesn't do any inversions. It doesn't do any wave turns. It doesn't do any sharp airtime moments coming off a mountain. It just kind of goes around in a circle around itself and does some really cool theming interactions. You want to do that? And I feel like a kid would definitely be more likely to go, I'll try that one first. And then if they love that, then you're like, all right, now you got to try this ride, Lightning Rod.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, every kid's different. Actually, ironically, my niece is more afraid of she's scared to death of Mystic Timbers. So,
That
but that's because of the theming. So
that's vice versa.
yeah.
All right. Well, another response we got was a pretty good one as well. We have Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia, the B&M Hypercoaster. Wild One at Six Flags America. And Big Thunder Mountain at Magic Kingdom, Disney's Magic Kingdom. So that is, I think that is a great top three there because you got a major steel coaster with Goliath. You got a big airtime machine there. You got Wild One, which serves as that classic wooden family coaster. And then you got Big Thunder, which is almost, again, this is a good like bridge between the gap. It's a thrilling attraction, but it's not too crazy.
Yeah, that's a good lineup.
Yeah, it is. Another response we got was Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point, Leviathan, but not the Leviathan that we know, the B&M Giga, the Leviathan, the Gravity Group one going to the Chinese parks, so that massive Gravity Group wooden coaster. And then Renegade at, what is it? I don't even remember what park it's at right now off the top of my head.
Is it Valley Fair?
Valley Fair. It is Valley Fair, yes. I don't know why I blanked on that. He said I would have some family attractions throughout the park as well, though. But he did not specify what this would be. But this was about making it a well-rounded collection without having to include other rides. So, that's not a terrible
It's got
one.
Renegade, so that's not bad.
Yeah, Renegade again. I think they could almost act as family, but I feel like it's kind of redundant to have a massive Gravity Group and a massive Gravity
Yeah.
GCI. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's not a bad collection by any means. None of these are bad in any sense. The next one we got was Fury 325, Mystic Timbers, and Montu. He said, I want a good mix of, I want a large steel coaster with Fury. I want a good family coaster with Mystic Timbers, and then a good inverting coaster with Montu. And I think that's fair, especially if you're going to pick out of the inverts. The best I've heard is Montu, and I don't know if that stands. I like Banshee a lot, so I don't know how well those two will compare. But in terms of inverts, I've heard Montu is one of the best, so that's a fair top
I gotta
three.
say he's on the same path as what I'm thinking of my three, and two of those were one was almost. Yeah, he's close in thought on what mine are.
He's not
We'll
too
get
far
there.
off from mine either, and we'll leave those to later though. The next response we got was I-305, Mako, and Montu. So again, we've seen a lot of Montus here. There's actually a couple more coming up as well. So I-305, he said, is the intense steel coaster. Mako is the more airtime friendly, comfortable, smooth attraction. And then Montu, again, with the inversions, it serves that purpose. So again, we're seeing a lot of Montus because the next one again, and a lot of Mystic Timbers, Fury 325, Mystic Timbers, and Montu. That seems to be a repeat top three. I think we might have already gotten that one, actually. That was exactly the same response from earlier, actually, from the other guy that we brought up. So we got a lot of, so it seems that the most common is having Fury 325 as your B&M Giga, as your big headline steel coaster, then having your good mid-sized wooden coaster there with Mystic Timbers, or Renegade. We saw a lot of Renegades as well. And then Montu being your inverting coaster. So it seems that, like, in terms of well-rounded top threes, people seem to think it needs to be a massive steel coaster, a mid-sized wooden coaster, and then have your small inverting coaster with like Montu.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. Now more than ever, I need to. I haven't been on that, but
Yeah, it's strange.
They
We've gotten a
could.
lot of responses for that. So I think now we're going to share our top threes. I'll give mine real quick, and then Bob, you can give yours. So mine, actually, I kind of took the aspect of what people were doing with the Gravity Groups, and I put Phoenix. That's kind of my mid-sized coaster because people think Phoenix, that's a legendary wooden coaster, one of the greatest wooden coasters in the world. But
that's actually a good one.
It doesn't go that fast. It doesn't go that tall. It doesn't do that. It does great airtime moments, but it is definitely not something that kids will be scared of riding. I mean, does not look that massive. I mean, Twister is the bigger coaster at Knoebels. So I think that's a great ride. I think what Phoenix is like 45 miles an hour. So that's a good
that's how
mid-sized coaster that I think would fit really well at my park. And then I played off with Montu, but I did Banshee since I've been on it. I put Banshee as my inverting coaster. I think that fits really well. I think it's a great attraction, and I think it for inversion wise, it is the perfect coaster in that aspect. And then actually, I like that someone put Terran earlier. I didn't think anyone would put Terran because it's such a unique ride and it's not in the United States. I thought no one would put that, but I put Terran at Phantasialand on my list as well because I think, like I was saying earlier, it's not. It does some really great things. It goes fast. It does some airtime moments. It has the launches, but I think it is honestly one of the best coasters in terms of it's almost like a scale up from what Verbolten does with being a launch coaster that doesn't do any inversions. It's a little more. It's faster than Verbolten. It does some more intense moments of airtime, and it does some more intense launches compared to Verbolten. But it's almost like a step up from Verbolten because you can get a kid on this ride. I think it would be very easy to get a kid on this ride. It doesn't go upside down. It doesn't have any tall moments. Even with Verbolten has like that 70-foot drop that a lot of times people are like, what? There's a 70-foot drop? I don't know about riding that. I've heard a lot of people say that sometimes. And so with this doesn't do anything like that. So I think it'd be a lot easier to get kids on. I think this is a good ride that you get families on and they would all enjoy it.
Yeah, that's you've got me really thinking. I didn't even consider it. I kind of I don't know. My mid scale, I'm going with Mystic Timbers. That's what I was going with.
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix would be a good replacement though to swap that out though. I gotta say that.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I want to go with Mystic Timbers. For my invert and more family oriented, I got to put Merlin's Mayhem there. I got to.
If you didn't put it, I think we'd all be disappointed.
I'm sure you would. But I've really struggled over that top thrill coaster. Like what do I want to do? And I really thought about I-305. And I thought about Fury. And I ruled that out pretty quickly. And I narrowed it down to Skyrush and Phantom's Revenge. And I think I actually want to go with Phantom's Revenge because everybody can love that coaster and get a ton of thrill out of it. Obviously, we have to make sure that my park's on hills and in a ravine and all of that stuff, but we'll work the logistics out. But that's what I'm going with. Phantom's Revenge, Mystic Timbers, and Merlin's Mayhem.
Yeah, and I think there seemed to be a lot of repeats. It seemed like people think that some of these rides really do fit well in a well-rounded collection. And I think Mystic Timbers is really a prime example of that because it's the highlight of the park, but it's not the tallest at the park. It's not the fastest at the park. But it is the best ride there.
I mean, it was my number one for the longest. Until I rode Voyage, I didn't think anything was going to beat Mystic Timbers on my list. I love that ride so much. Then I rode Voyage.
and you were brought to the light.
But even still, like Mystic Timbers is my number 2, and it's still far above the number 3 spot.
Yeah, so it's just
and it can be something that younger kids can ride as well.
It's a prime example of a well-rounded coaster because the families can enjoy it and the thrill seekers can enjoy it. It's a happy medium and it fits so well at Kings Island, and I think it would fit well at a lot of parks, and I think that's why a lot of people chose that type of ride. Mystic Timbers, Renegade, GCI coasters like that. I think those are great choices. So that is our top 3 coasters at a future park that we have yet to make, but it's all theoretical, and that's our theoretical top
Someday
3.
I'll make that that I can't talk. Someday I'll make that park. No, not really.
Someday. So that was our top 3 at our well-rounded park there, and now we're going to talk about the next weekly poll, and this is an interesting one. I don't know how we're going to get a response from this. But I think this is an intriguing question. It's something that should be considered. So aero coasters are known for being head-banging coasters and rough rides by many. Some people love them. I have a few aeros that I love, But majority of the arrows I ride, I'm like, I can't re-ride. I don't want to re-ride. They're just known for being that rough. And by majority of enthusiasts, they're considered, rough attractions. Do you think that B&M will follow that path? Are the B&M multi-looping coasters going to follow the path of the Arrow looping coasters? And I think that's interesting. 10, 15 years down the line, are they going to become the same thing that we now see with Arrows? Are they going to be the rough multi-looping coasters that, not a lot of people ride? And I don't know. It's an interesting concept and something that we'll talk about on next week's show.
Yeah, and some things to consider is, at the time that the Arrows were built, they were the amazing coasters at the time. And I mean, people felt about the Arrows the same way people feel about the B&Ms now. And it's just it's kind of interesting. And they were also known, Arrow, the bulletproof coasters that ran and were reliable and were easy to work on and easy to work with. There's so many, just in what we see right now, there's so many parallels between the two. If you put yourself in the shoes of someone that was there for the Arrow time. And I think you said about the majority of enthusiasts. I think I'd say the majority of the younger enthusiasts is correct. I think there's still a lot of older enthusiasts that I think in the older enthusiast community, there are more people that love the Arrows more than what you might say. So if you encompass all age groups, I don't know where that majority.
I still think a majority would say that they're rough. I don't know about.
I think some would admit that there's like rough spots and stuff like that, but I think they still love them.
I don't know. That's what we are going to test and see if we think that B&M multi-looping coasters are going to follow in the footsteps of Arrow. So I guess we'll find that out somewhat. So
it's interesting too that both companies did hypers as well.
Yeah, both companies they are very similar in that aspect.
There's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, it is interesting. So what do you guys think? That's all. That's going to be on next week's show. We're excited to talk about that. And also excited for you guys to check out our new blog, blog.coastertalkpodcast.com. Sooner rather than later, Bob will be posting a update there and doing an article there for us to check out, and then I'll do one as well. And we're going to try to make it a monthly thing. Sometimes it might be more than monthly, sometimes it might be less, but we're going to try to work that out, and that we produce I
definitely have some ideas that
pretty constant flow.
It's just finding the time.
Yeah.
Because I know all of you are stuck at home, but I don't have that luxury.
Yeah. But if you want to stay in contact with us outside of the blog and outside of the website and outside of listening to the podcast, you can do so by following us on social media. We have a Twitter account at @CoasterTalk_pod. Also, Bob has his own Coaster Talk account, Coaster Talk Bob, where he does his own in-depth reviews and analysis on the industry. We have a Facebook account at Coaster Talk Pod, an Instagram account at Coaster Talk Pod. If you just want to contact the show with any comments, questions, or concerns, or if you want to send in an audio file and say, hey, here's a blurb for me at a park, or here's a thing for me at if you have any thoughts on what's going on right now, you can leave that in the Coaster Talk Podcast contact us page, coastertalkpodcast.com/contact. You can email me, James, at coastertalkpodcast.com, or you can also email Bob at coastertalkpodcast.com. Either way, we'll get it, we'll talk about it, and we'll bring it up with each other. So whomever you want to email, it's up to you. So thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Coaster Talk. It's been a blast. It was a long episode, but it was a fun one. Thank you so much, Clint, for coming on. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you guys all next week. Bye, everyone. Might have to re-record some of that. That was pretty choppy, but whatever.
Yeah, you can go for it.
What the hell just happened?
What? What? You're scaring me.
Something happened in Audacity. I thought maybe your audio got deleted or something.
Don't kid with that stuff.
Wait. Audacity sound editor stopped working. Shit. I hope it doesn't. Fuck.
weirdo.
I'm sorry, everyone listening on the live stream. Not proper language. If it just deleted that project. Oh, good. I thought it deleted all your audio. No, it did.
It did. Everything?
Oh, no, there it is. Phew. I recovered it. I clicked recover. Thank God. Oh, my God.
Yes. No, absolutely. I've successfully skipped a few heartbeats there.
Oh, I did too.
It's all there.
It said Audacity is, it said like there's problems recovering your files, and I'm like, schnizzle poo poo. But then everything showed back up, so we're good. I don't know what just happened. It said they caught like a bug or something. It said Audacity. Why is every platform that we use starting to glitch all of a sudden?
I think it's your computer.
Not my computer. That was Discord, 100%.
Huh?
That was Discord, 100%. And then
when
YouTube,
Discord
it was
crashed,
YouTube, with the live stream.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
you're
this just said it was Audacity had a bug, so it wasn't me.
right. Well, yeah, but I mean, when you have errors like that, that's not necessarily the program. Like sometimes it could be the computer just doing illegal operation, and just being under heavy load can do that.
All right, we're gonna record the intro real quick, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. That was a heck of a show. Whew. We were live for 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Oh my God. Hey, it's Friday.
It's no longer Thursday night. See you guys.
Anybody on the East Coast? It's Friday.
Last Friday night.